All right, let's see if that worked. Pull up the chat here. Excellent. How's my volume doing? Is it okay? Welcome, everybody, to beautiful western Wyoming. Welcome back to Paleontologizing. Welcome to live paleontological fieldwork. I'm really glad you're here. I'm broadcasting to you live via satellite from middle of nowhere, Wyoming, here in the western United States. And we'll walk you down there and show you the quarry in a minute with two of my crewmates here. But it's good to be back in the field. Holy cow. We've been waiting for this all year. If anyone's here for the very first time, allow me to introduce myself real quick. My name is Danny Anduza. I'm a dinosaur paleontologist. I'm here on Twitch trying to do some good old-fashioned science outreach. As a paleontologist, I study fossils. That's what paleontology is. It's the study of the history of life on Earth, as found through the fossil record. As a dinosaur paleontologist, I mostly focus on dinosaurs. We're not going to be seeing much dinosaur material today because this site, called Turtle Hill, is here in the late Cretaceous of Wyoming, like Campanian, Maastrichtian boundary. About maybe 73 million years ago, something like that. Got a bunch of turtles, as the name would apply, a bunch of plants, and a bunch of bony fishes, too, ray-finned fishes. So I'll show you some of that material today. And today's going to be kind of a low-key stream. We're just getting started here, but I'll be out here in Wyoming for 2 weeks. So this is the first of probably 14 or 15 streams. Probably 14 streams. I'm really glad you're here. This is the best way that I know how of doing science outreach. Not just telling you how science works, but showing you. You know, not all science is done in the laboratory. Much of it is done out in the field. This is how we collect fossils in order to be able to study them and piece together the history of life on our planet Earth. So I'm glad you're here. And if you've got any questions at all, please do not hesitate to ask. It's the point of these live interactive broadcasts is that you can ask questions, type comments, and whatever, you know, it's interactive. That's the whole point. I'm really proud to be able to do this. This, believe it or not, is my full-time job, and the reason I can be out here and do this kind of field work and make a living is because of you generous supporters there in the chat. I saw there was an anonymous, 5-sub donation? Thank you for that. Really appreciate it. Yeah. And, close to a level 4 hype train. Excellent. Yeah. And hey, Puggo Wuggo, Jamira, Claire Bird, Jazzy Cat, Lordy, how are you doing? It is beautiful out here. It's, it might seem a little desolate. This is not, it's a far cry from Florida where I was last week. This is very different. But, here's the plant quarry up here. Our paleobotanist friends have left, I think, to go pick somebody up from the airport. They might be back. They left all their stuff here, so I assume they'll be back this afternoon. But, yeah. And then there's Martin down there, and Fisher. Here's how we're broadcasting live via satellite dish. And one and only Thor. Hey, thank you for the sub. I appreciate that. Hey, welcome to the community. It's good to have you here. Good stuff. So the reason I can broadcast to you live from the middle of nowhere is thanks to satellite dish right there, and we've got a solar battery pack and solar panel here to make sure that this is not going to blow away in the wind. Yeah, it'll be good like that. It's fine. But yeah, it takes a lot of equipment, a lot of trial and error to get a system like this working properly out here in the field. So if the camera shuts off at any point, if you have some sort of technical difficulty, just hang tight. It happens out here in the field. Don't freak out. But I'm really glad you're here. Welcome, everybody. And Key West. Oh, very nice, Alexander Morrison. Nice. And Max Devlin says, how many people are on this fielder? So that's a good question, actually. We've probably got about 20 or 25 people in camp right now. There's 3 of us currently at this site. We've got multiple sites that are running simultaneously in this region. The other sites are all dinosaur sites for the most part. This is our only mostly non-dinosaur site. There have been a couple of dinosaur teeth to come out of here, but for the most part, we're looking at kind of a sample platter of the different organisms aside from dinosaurs that lived in this ecosystem. And this is really important stuff because if you want to actually understand what this is like as an ecosystem, you can't just focus on the big charismatic animals. You gotta know what are the small critters that are walking and flying and swimming around. What are the plants that are the base of the food chain here? All that good stuff. So that's kind of the insight that Turtle Hill gives us. And it's gotten windy since I started the stream. Slightly concerned that my hat might blow off. I finally, after 17 years, got a new hat. It's the same as the old hat, but this one's brand new. And so it doesn't quite fit as snugly as it should. It's going to take a little bit of time to kind of shrink in the sun and the elements and everything and perfectly, fit on my head. So if my hat flies off, don't laugh too hard. Good stuff. Southern World Ever says this area looks familiar. Yeah, so I streamed from here multiple times last summer as well. Let's go down to the quarry and I'll show you where we're working. So again, this is where the plants are coming out up here. And, here, let me show you the plants real quick first before we move on to the animals. But leaves at this site, leaves galore. Got some beautiful ones up here. Fossil leaves. These are really important because we can compare these to leaves today on various plants, and we know what climate and what conditions current day plants grow in. So if we can match these to current day conditions somewhere, then we get a good idea of what the conditions were like here in Wyoming 73 million years ago, give or take. So really important stuff. And we'll be talking more about that when our paleobotanists return. This is where they're working up here. I'm excited to talk about that. But for now, let's look at where the animals are coming out. And Alexander, yeah, I stopped in Salt Lake City yesterday and had lunch with Papa Jim. It's Utah State paleontologist Jim Kirkland. Took him out for lunch. We got some burgers. A pretty decent veggie burger there, Impossible Burger at that place. It was nice. Yeah. And exactly, Charlie's Dragon. Yeah. Again, one of the themes of this summer is going to be that paleontological science isn't just, we're not out here for fortune and glory. We're not headhunting, trying to find, let's just take the skull from this thing because it's cool and big. No, we're out here collecting data. This is for science. I'm currently working with the Mesozoic Research Center, which is what we're calling ourselves nowadays. That's Ethan Cowgill's organization. But these fossils, these ones here, I think are going to... Are these ones going to Pittsburgh, or are they going to Cincinnati? I'll have to ask. But we're working with two different museums who are repositories. Since we're working here on public land, Bureau of Land Management, federal land, we're working under permit. So all of the fossils that we find here have to go to a museum. Nothing is being sold. This is not a profit-making endeavor. We're out here for science. We're trying to figure out what this ancient environment was like. We're trying to put a few more pieces into this grand puzzle, to see what what life has been doing on our planet for the past several billion years. Again, these rocks are about 73 million years old, give or take. We're still working on figuring out exactly how old, and part of what we're doing here will help us inform that question. Let me show you around. And thank you, Lunia Rose. Welcome. And Illy Spid says, what's the name for paleontologists who study, creatures? I would include plants and creatures. Plants are an organism, a living thing. But, yeah, you would say, if you want to get real fancy, you would say paleozoologist, I guess, for paleontologists who study animals, like us. But, I don't know. I guess we don't use the term paleozoologist very often. It's usually vertebrate or invertebrate paleontologist. And we here are vertebrate paleontologists. Now here is... the quarry looks a bit different from last year, if any of you remember that. Here's Martin working over here. And here is Fisher.
Hello.
Yeah, my only begotten son. What have you got over here, Fisher? Holy cow, that looks pretty ribby.
Yeah, we've got a couple of ribs here. So this is just kind of the leftovers from this little nose over here, our lower bed. So this is typically what we work when we do Turtle Hill stuff.
Nice.
This year we were a little bit delayed because this overlying block of limestone was in some places like 10 inches thick. You can kind of see it up here.
Yeah.
And there were no natural cracks in it whatsoever. So
it's just a solid block of...
We took down this bench, and we were just confronted with this massive limestone that was completely impenetrable by any sort of hand tools. And so we used a rock saw, of all things, which I never thought would ever get used at a site like this. And then
I was shocked when I heard this.
For maybe 4, 5, 6 days, we were up here rock sawing and chiseling chunks out of this, checking the cross sections. Oh, there's a turtle, gotta save that. You know, the next 5 pieces all also have turtles in them. We gotta try to put them together. Filling up a lot of these matrix bags full of blocks of limestone, which you can see down there.
Yeah.
These are from one day.
Oh man, shoot. Wow.
A lot of rock.
Okay.
And now we're just kind of in the process of finishing up the little bench that we had exposed down here, which was my job today, and then Martin and I were supposed to take down this bench yesterday, do some overburden to get down to this lower bed, but we ended up encountering a surprise extra bone bed using our overburden tools, which is never ideal. So I ended up
those big picks over there, just cutting through this and
taking a
bones.
Pickaxe to Melvius skull bones, not fun. So I've had Danny and Martin working on checking out this middle bone bed today as I finish up this stuff down here.
Nice.
But other than the things that were destroyed by a pickaxe, it seems like it's pretty empty, unfortunately.
Okay. That's how it goes sometimes.
Yeah. Luckily, we were able to put it back together. But it was definitely stressful digging through talus piles looking for little shards and stuff.
Yeah.
But soon enough, we'll be back down to the good stuff.
Nice.
Already this year, we've gotten 5, maybe 6 different cranial pieces from Melvius, is our big fish from here. Kind of the star of the vertebrate layer at Turtle Hill. I'm hoping to find more.
Nice. Yeah.
But yeah, this comparatively is not very impressive, at least to my jaded eye.
I don't know. Ribs.
Couple of ribs.
As a wise man once said, gotta have them ribs.
It's true. This is probably the coolest thing I've pulled out today, a little fish tooth plate.
That is really cool, yeah. Excellent.
Yeah, we've got like kind of a little turtle costal down here, really small. Gar scales, probably some fish cranial stuff. I've encountered this element a couple of times. I'm not really sure what to make of it.
So what you're looking at, Chet, the brown thing in the middle that's kind of shiny, there's rock around it, and in order to keep it from falling apart, you kind of have to keep a lot of that matrix to support it there. So,
in this little case, we've got vials full of little micro things, which we can go ahead and pull some of those out if you want to look at them.
Oh, cool, yeah.
So
here, let me go get my my little visual aid sheet. We can talk about what some of these critters are as we pull them out. I printed a new visual aid for this summer and laminated it to just try and show you, like, what's the cast of characters of the different critters that we're finding here at this site. This is not specifically for where we're working here in the Almond Formation. This is going to be more geared towards, say, the Judith River Formation, but it'll still work. There we go. Because again, this is kind of, I like to call this site sort of a sample platter, the different kinds of critters that you find in this environment. So here we go. Nice, lovely illustration by Wyoming artist Russell Hawley, who's over there in Casper. But yeah, this is the kind of environment that we're talking about here. There's dinosaurs there, like that duckbill and that dromaeosaur or troodontid or whoever that is there, Ricardoesthesia. We got lizards, we got fishes, we got sharks, we got amphibians, we got turtles, all kinds of critters here. So I hope that makes sense so far. Now we're going to see some of those critters.
Yeah, so anytime we find a tiny little specimen, we always want to put it in a vial because they're often difficult to wrap because they're so small.
Right.
They can get lost in their own wrapping.
Sure.
So we typically put them in vials. I'm always happy to put things in vials because wrapping is the most boring part of this job.
Exactly. It takes so long.
It does take a long time to catalog everything.
Yeah.
But we get good stuff. There's this very specific like sandy layer down here that produces a lot of little tiny microfossils that you can dig out with a dental pick. So like here, for example, is what I think is a turtle claw.
Oh yeah, look at that. Very nice.
And let's see, we've got...
So that's, I would guess, probably a claw from like it could be a trionychid turtle, like a soft-shell turtle.
Yeah, this thing, which might be a mammal tooth, I don't know.
Ooh,
it's double-rooted.
That would be huge. That would be our second mammal tooth from this site, right?
I think third. So earlier this year, I found a mammal tooth also while doing overburden in the upper bed. So, slamming away with a paleo pick, and out pops what looks like a little fragment of a jaw, not of a mammal, and it's like, okay, well, now I gotta stop and brush things away and make sure I get all the pieces. Right. And as I'm doing that, I realize that there's this little black nub on the edge of the piece of rock I'm holding, and as I'm looking at it, it looks like it's an enamel. And it looks like it's the shape of a molar. Yeah. Very similar to the stuff that I've seen in like the Eocene. Very cool. Not too far from here. Yeah. Over in the Bridger Basin. So that's super important because, I mean, as human beings, we tend to be a little bit mammal obsessed. We ourselves are mammals, and mammals existed in this environment. That's funny. This diagram doesn't actually show a mammal on here. Fisher was pointing that out earlier. But mammals did live at the same time as the dinosaurs, but they were universally small. Yeah, about the size of a badger is where they max out. Yeah, and most of them are way smaller than that. We're talking like shrew or mouse, maybe rat-sized. So like their bits tend to be pretty itty-bitty. And and they're very rare. So like finding a mammal tooth is a big deal. Yes. So we have at maximum 3 of them that we know of so far. I'm sure that there are more in the matrix bags, but we have one for certain that was found last year, a multituberculate, so kind of like the Mesozoic equivalent of like a rodent. Right. With these like kind of like Lego brick shaped teeth, very distinctive. And then we were talking about multis the other day because there was that new one that was described from Baja California. You heard about that? Yep. Yeah. Multis are so weird and cool. They're fun. Yeah. And then maybe the one that I found up in the upper layer, and then this thing that I just pulled out earlier, which we can look at again, which I'm not sure. It doesn't really look like a mammal tooth other than that it's got the 2 roots. Maybe I'm even looking at it backwards, and that's not even rooted. Could be some sort of weird fishy thing. Yeah, I don't know. I'm unsure. It would have to be like a premolar or something. I should grab my magnifying glass actually and put it in front of a lens, and we'll see if that helps people see this a little bit. Also, we got Spencer in the chat. How you doing, Spencer? Hi, Spencer. Spencer. At first, I didn't recognize his username, and he said something like, "Do you guys ever use ground-penetrating radar?" Yes. It's good to see you, Spencer. We hope you're doing well. Wish you were out here. Spencer, I miss you. Yeah. And let's grab that magnifying glass. But, again, I just got here last night, so still kind of getting everything together. The stream might feel particularly disjointed today because we're just starting off. But where's that? There it is. Let's see if this helps at all. There's no viewfinder on this thing, so I have to just kind of trust that whatever you're seeing is what I'm trying to show you. But there's that. There's the thing we were talking about. Just like that. Very nice. Okay. Yeah, I could totally see that being a mammal tooth. Yeah, it would have to be a premolar, I think. Yeah. Of a molar. It could be. It doesn't look very enamel-y, but who knows? We'll find out. And then, let's see. So probably the most common find are the Melvius teeth. Yeah, nice. Fish. Okay. There we go. So we often just put like with like because otherwise we would just have hundreds of vials of Melvius teeth on their own. So Melvius... it's funny, Melvius sounds like, the name sounds like it should be a Bond villain or somebody. Like, Dr. Melvius, you'll never get away with this. Mr. Bond, I expect you to die. You know, you get the point. I don't have to keep acting this out. But it's a bowfin fish. And we don't have Melvius on this diagram, they have Cyclurus instead. But it's this kind of fish. This kind of undersells how big they could get. Because, like, how big are we talking for Melvius? Probably, at minimum, about 6 or 7 feet long. Yeah. I mean, yes, exactly. Very, very funny, Martin. That's the problem with estimating something that's, like, intermittently sized, is that you always end up with the meme numbers. But, Melvius probably, maybe 3 meters long at most. I mean, so it's just like over 9 feet potentially. Like this is a big fish. Skill elements that are at least the size of my hand, maybe bigger. Yeah. So this would have been like a kind of a top predator in this ecosystem. You do have freshwater sharks. Like do we have any hybidont shark material from here yet? We don't. So last year we pulled out a number of spines that we labeled as what we thought were hybidont, given what I was able to just like look at on the internet while I was out here. But Ethan brought them to Jim, and Jim says that we have a veritable infestation of sturgeon here.
Oh, they're sturgeon spines.
Yes.
Interesting.
So that is the current hypothesis as to what
There's no sturgeon on here. Yeah. It's funny, like, I was all excited to bring this out here. This will be more useful when I'm up in the Judith, I think. But, yeah, so we're missing sturgeon here. We don't have any champsosaurs here. We have crocs instead. Do we have any... You've got ray teeth from here, right?
Absolutely. Let's see if we can...
Shark Geek is here in the chat, who works on elasmobranchs.
Yep, here we have
and he would love to see some of these.
Where's
my magnifying glass?
Varying sizes.
Very nice. Yeah, they look like little stop signs when you look at the crushing, grinding surface.
Yep. It's a little Durophagous ray.
Yeah, nice.
Coriops as well, another Durophagous fish, another very common fossil here.
Neat.
Button teeth.
When we say Durophagous, we mean they're eating hard
Yes.
stuff that they have to crack open with their teeth.
So probably like mollusks and things like that.
Yeah.
And a lot of clams and gastropods here as well, and the more calcareous layers. Let's see what else. There's a lizard osteoderm in here somewhere, I think.
Oh, neat.
Pretty fun. Let's see if I can find
Mojo Jojo asks, are molars the toughest, most likely to survive part of these critters? I guess for mammals.
For mammals, yes,
Yeah.
the teeth are going to be the hardest part. The enamel is harder than bone.
Yeah.
So mammals, the problem with them in the Mesozoic is that, like Danny was mentioning earlier, they're often very small.
Yeah.
And there's often a preservation bias towards larger-bodied organisms in the fossil record because it's much easier for a small organism's body to be destroyed by the elements, by taphonomy, by predation.
Right.
You know, something just snaps it up and swallows it rather than, scavenging a hunk of flesh off of a larger carcass.
Sure.
So we often, don't get much of a mammal in the Mesozoic. At the most, we're going to get a fragment of a jawbone or a little, tooth here and there.
Mm-hmm.
And then the molars are the largest teeth, and so those are the ones that most frequently preserve, and they're also usually the most diagnostic. And so incisors and canines are often not nearly as important for diagnosing mammal taxonomy as the molars and premolars are.
Right, yeah. And then on top of that preservational bias, you get collection bias too, where like, if you're out prospecting, just looking around in the landscape for bones, it's not likely you're going to find a tiny little mammal tooth, but you will maybe find like a hadrosaur femur or something.
You have to know what you're looking for, and you have to be very, you have to be very, I'm trying to find the word here. You have to be very focused on what you want, so you need to know exactly what to
have a good search image.
Yes.
Yeah.
Check the anthills, check the sandy, drifts coming down from overhangs and stuff.
And Mayor Space is joking. He says, it'd be nice if we found a Mesozoic mammal stuck in amber. That would be nice. We do get amber at this site, but it tends to be very, very small. We're talking about like smaller than a grain of rice.
Yeah.
But
There's that osteoderm.
Oh,
I think is a lizard.
Yeah.
But I'm no expert, so...
So a lizard skin bone, potentially. Maybe. Neat.
Many of the field IDs here are very tentative.
Yeah.
Because I'm not an expert on almost any of this stuff. Neither is almost anyone else here. We've got a large amount of dinosaur paleontologists out here, but very few people work on fish in general.
Right.
And that's the majority of what we pull out are fish.
Mm-hmm.
So we often, just label things fish cranial ?
Right.
As our field ID.
We'll just collect it and somebody can sort it out in the lab.
Let's see. I think there's also what might be a little dromaeosaur claw in here. That might be fun to look at if I can find it. Let's see.
Somebody was telling me about that in camp. You were thinking maybe dromaeosaur, maybe turtle?
Yeah, we weren't sure. We found a couple of them in the upper bed while we were doing the limestone stuff.
Uh-huh.
Let's see. Where is it?
How many of those vials are full right now?
I don't know.
Okay.
I'd usually just trying to get things put away quickly. So it's like, okay, well, if I can find an empty one, and it goes.
Miss Capri Kel asks, are there paleontologists who specialize in ichthyosaurs? The answer is yes, and I need to send some emails out because I'd love to be able to work with some later on this summer in Nevada. But yeah, there's ichthyosaur specialists for sure.
They're very nice and frequently English.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, we're talking about like Chris McGowan.
Yeah.
Yeah, nice guy.
There's a croc tooth.
Ooh, oh yeah, decent size there. Excellent. Crocodile.
Where is our dinosaur? If that's what it is.
Go away, wasp. Goodness. And Ilispid. Oh, and Paralititan30 says, I work on ichthyosaurs. Awesome. There you go. Yeah. This is so cool. We have such a cool cross-section of humanity in the chat. Everybody from just, Twitch viewers who maybe never knew they could be interested in paleontology to full-on professional paleontologist in the chat.
Theropod tooth.
Ooh.
So if you look very closely, you can see the serrations on it.
Yeah, let me get the magnifying glass out. And I told you wouldn't be seeing any dinosaurs on stream today, Chad. How wrong I was. Look at that. We got a theropod tooth right there from a meat-eating dinosaur. Very cool. Hopefully the magnifying glass is helping. Let me know if it's not. But yeah, pretty neat. Yeah. So I wonder who that would be. It is helping. Excellent. Good. Here's another diagram. Super broad. The entire ancient continent of Laramidia. So for a theropod like that, it's not going to be an ornithomimid because they didn't have teeth, but could well be a troodontid or a dromaeosaur. It's not going to be an oviraptorosaur. They also lack teeth. It could be like a hatchling tyrannosaur, but I doubt that. The odds are not high. So probably dromaeosaur. It doesn't quite look troodontid. I'm guessing it's a raptor tooth, a dromaeosaur tooth.
Yeah. Postulated as well.
Yeah. Creepy Anime says, "Can I ask a speculative question?" Sure. Go for it. Crimson Carnotaurus says, "If you leave that tooth under your pillow, a little pterosaur will leave you $1." I'm not gonna take that deal. I think the tooth is much more valuable to science. Oh, and Murph is here. How you doing, Murph? Welcome. Murph says, "Are the croc teeth Brachychampsa-like?" It's hard to say when they're that small.
This one's also kind of worn.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I can kind of see it.
I could see that being a Brachychampsa tooth, I guess. Yeah. Cool.
Definitely a lot of Durophagus animals at this site.
Yeah, it's probably lots of... Do you find snail shell fragments?
Oh, all the time. There's an entire layer of snails.
Nice.
Kind of right above the limestone.
Uh-huh.
There's this kind of like a macaroni colored.
Oh yeah, and we get the big unionid clams too. Yeah.
And then, let's see, right about here, this kind of like macaroni yellow layer is basically all made out of these little coiled snails.
Nice.
And that's where the mammal tooth came from earlier.
So we know
this
we've
year.
got lots of guys eating these shelly guys. So like, just to run down the roster of Durophagous critters, we've got the crocs potentially. We've got that Durophagous fish, which might be... Who is that again?
It's Coriops.
Coriops.
Only known from teeth and tooth blades.
So nobody knows what the fish looks like, but we know what his teeth look like at least.
And then there's the rays as well.
So they're probably crushing up.
And, probably turtles as well, I would imagine.
Yeah, turtles will eat snails every once in a while, for sure.
Got the other non-Coriops tooth blade.
Yep.
Oh yeah. So there's lots of critters here who are eating shelly organisms, I guess.
And, yeah, if there's enough shelled organisms to make a 10-inch thick block of limestone, then clearly they're really dominating the ecosystem.
Neat. Oh, I got a question from Creepy Anime. What, in your opinion, is the chance that large or medium-beaked animals might have had ribbed tongues like geese? That's a really good question. That's the sort of thing that, like, it's a difficult question to answer. We can speculate about that and go, well, this would make sense or that would make sense, but if we're talking about toothless critters, like, say, that ornithomimid there, that's Struthiomimus, did they have some, like, oral papillae, kind of like a goose has, like, on the roof of their mouth or on their tongues? It's hard to say. That sort of thing, I don't know if that's ever fossilized before. So yeah, that's a tricky one. In science, we're always trying to figure things out, but you got to do it in a way that's testable. It's fun to speculate about stuff, but coming up with a question that's actually answerable or falsifiable through the data available is tricky. And for something like that, I love the idea. I don't know how you'd go about testing that, apart from finding like an exquisitely preserved fossil where you have soft tissue that's fossilized with it. But yeah, and it's a great question, Creepy Anime. I like that. Welcome, by the way. It's good to have you here. And Voss the Tarantula says, how do you know where to dig? Let me walk up the hill a little bit, and I'll talk about that. And I'll leave these guys to do their work and stop interrupting for a minute. So in general, if you're going out and you're trying to find, say, dinosaur fossils, you've got to find places that kind of check all of the boxes. So at this point in history, we as scientists, as Earth scientists, we've been, and I don't just mean scientists from Earth, I mean scientists who study rocks and geological processes and the fossil record and stuff. We've been at this for about a little over 200 years now, I guess. At least in like figuring out the history of life on Earth. And so most places on our planet that have rocks at the surface, and many places that have rocks under the surface too, under the soil, they've been mapped geologically. And so you can look up geological maps for different areas, and you find out how old the rocks are. And this is vitally important if you want to find, say, dinosaur fossils. Because dinosaurs were on Earth for just a fraction of the entire history of our planet. And I'll show you a little visual aid to help hammer this point home. That'll work. Yeah. So, this is a neat little graphical representation of the history of our planet Earth. It starts way down here at the formation of the Earth about 4.5 billion years ago and spirals upward. Dinosaurs were around on our planet from about 240 million years ago in the Triassic, so that would be here, up through the end of the Cretaceous period, which would be, there we go, the end of here. So dinosaurs are around for about 178 million years, give or take, something like that. They're still around today. Birds are dinosaurs. But for the purposes of today's discussion, when I say dinosaur, to read that as non-avian dinosaur, just for simplicity's sake. Bear with me here. Anyway, so if you're going to find dinosaur fossils, you need to find rocks from that time, from the Triassic, Jurassic, and Cretaceous periods. So you look at your geological maps, you figure out what age the rocks are, you find out where they're exposed, and then you go out and you look. So when Ethan Cowgill, who kind of started this whole project, when he was first beginning this back around 2020, something like that, he just came up, I think, with a couple of his brothers, and he'd read about this particular part of Wyoming where people like Barnum Brown, famous paleontologist from the early 20th century, Barnum Brown had worked out here in the 1930s and reported finding dinosaurs. And he was following the geological maps and just exploring, walking around, and he found some stuff. Ethan knew about this. He knew that not many people had been back since, and he figured, I want to go out there and look and see if we can find some stuff, and he did. And the way that you do that, the actual discovery process, once you've found the right area, with rocks exposed on the surface, they're not underneath the parking lot, they're not underneath a road or a housing development or a forest or anything like that, it's just exposed rocks here on the surface. Once you find that right kind of territory and you make sure that it's legal to prospect it, you're not walking over private land, you're not going to get, nobody's going to blow your head off with a shotgun because you're trespassing on their land or anything. Once you get out there, you find rocks of the right age and the right type, sedimentary rocks. You walk around and you look. This, in some ways, it can be one of the most difficult parts of field paleontology, is reading the rocks in such a way that you can find spots where you might find the kinds of fossils you're after. So if you're looking for dinosaurs, you're not going to find many dinosaurs in rocks that are from the bottom of the ocean at the time. Dinosaurs were land animals, and so you want to find terrestrial sediments, where rivers and lakes and ponds and swamps and floodplains were depositing sediment, and then critters were getting buried in that, and then preserved as fossils. So anyway, it's a long-winded answer, but there's a lot that goes into it. If you're trying to find, say, a dinosaur skeleton, then you got to do a lot of homework. and a lot of walking around and looking. Let's see here. There we go. Yeah. And there you go, Claire. Yeah, thank you. That was very understandable. Thank you for breaking it down for you. Bet, boss. Yeah. And we'll get that question a lot this summer from different chatters, so you will hear me give basically the same answer of varying lengths and degrees of specificity. We might even do a little bit of prospecting at some point. But, yeah. Once you think you found something, the question is, what is it? So, like, if you're walking around prospecting, and you pick something up, and you go, wait, is this bone? Looks odd. Let's pick that up. Interesting texture here, but wait, no, that's just lichen on the surface. This is just like a piece of ironstone. You know, not anything important or interesting. And you do that probably 100 times before you find something that actually is exciting and scientifically interesting. And so sometimes you find a fragment of a bone from a dinosaur. You might be talking about an animal that's the size of a bus, and it's got hundreds of bones, each of which can fall apart and fragment in a million zillion different ways, and then they can erode on the surface. And sometimes you pick up a fragment like that, and you have to try and figure out, well, what kind of animal is it from? Which bone in the body is it from? And is there more of it in there? So when we're walking along, we don't just dig a hole in a random place. You're letting erosion do the work for you. So you walk along a landscape like this, and you're looking for bones that are eroding out on the surface. Because if you just dig random pits everywhere, you'll never find anything. So when we're prospecting, we're walking along, looking at the ground, finding fragments, and then if you're on an incline like this, you follow the fragments uphill to where they're coming out. Because, you know, things spill out, gravity pulls them down, they tumble down the hill. You're trying to find the source of where this thing is coming out. And you dig in a little bit there, and if you're really lucky, you find a skeleton. Or sometimes even an accumulation of multiple skeletons. So here at this site, at Turtle Hill, I'm not sure who found this. It was probably Logan who found this a few years back. And he found, presumably, some turtle shell fragments eroding out of the hillside here. And he followed this in and started finding more and more little tantalizing bones of different critters. And now this has become one of our most important sites out here in Wyoming. So we're very lucky to have it. Yeah. And hamster rate, is there a ratio of erosion mapped across North America? It's not quite that formal, but when we're looking for fossils in a place like this, well, in a place like the Badlands of Wyoming, I say Badlands, but it looks very green right now. They hardly had any winter at all this year in Wyoming, so everything's still super, super green. It's much more lush than it normally looks. But this is an area with a lot of erosion. So it's very dry here, and it's very high elevation. Gets very cold in the winter. There's not a lot of different plants that can survive here. The kinds of plants that you'll see will be these scrubby little things. Get a lot of sagebrush, get prickly pear cactus, and this kind of thing. Because you don't have a lot of plants, there's not a whole lot kind of holding the soil together, so you don't get a lot of soil. It's basically just a very thin layer, very poor soil at the surface, and then immediately underneath you get into rock like this. It's kind of like silty mud right here. Silty mudstone. And so because you don't have a lot of plants here, you get a lot of erosion. Wind and rain and snow and freeze thaw, all of this is constantly changing this landscape bit by bit. These rocks are eroding from these erosional forces, and as they're doing that, the fossils that are buried within them become exposed. And so what's cool is that in certain areas where you get really high rates of erosion and not a lot of plants, you could go prospect a particular area one year and not find anything, and you come back the next year or the year after that or the year after that, and suddenly there's fossils everywhere because erosion has been working its magic and exposing new things. So yeah, I mean, we kind of see that down here with this little gully where you can see how quickly the erosion is doing its thing, where it's carved this little miniature canyon down here. when you get these torrential rains that occasionally come through, they can completely wash out some of these areas, and you just get this really dramatic topography like this. Check this out. This is not anything special around here. This is super, super common to see this sort of gully like this. And this just goes to show what a powerful force erosion is here. Like, this used to be just a gentle little smooth valley, and it's been carved away like this. But a not so grand canyon, I guess, going through here. That's erosion, baby. Erosion is both the greatest ally and the worst enemy of the paleontologist. It's what allows us to come out here and find fossils, but at the same time, sometimes you're like a couple seasons too late, and there's a beautiful skeleton on the surface, and it is just destroyed by erosion. Wind and rain and sun and freeze-thaw and everything else have just worked as destructive forces to just tear it apart, turn it to dust, essentially. We see that sometimes. It's kind of heartbreaking. But yeah. And no, I've never been to Drumheller. Not yet, Creepy Anime, but I have friends and colleagues who have worked up there at the Terrell Museum and in the Badlands around the Red Deer River. That is one of the world's most famous fossil sites. Is up there near Drumheller, Alberta. Kind of legendary in the world of dinosaur paleontology, especially. Yeah. And tattoo and then there you go, Claire. Yeah. But yeah. Keratoceratops. There you go, Crimson. Yeah. Anywho, yeah. Tyra. I'm not sure I know what you mean, Creepy Anime. What? Yeah. Anywho. Oh, this is nice. We've got some cloud cover here. Hasn't been too hot today. We might hear these bugs might quiet down, given that it's not as sunny. When it gets really hot and sunny, a certain time of the day, those bugs are just calling to each other. I don't know if it's a territorial thing or if they're looking for mates or what, but somebody over here. Oh, I got too close. Now you're getting shy. A little cricket or somebody in here. Anyhow, yeah. Oh, Tyra's the giant T-Rex statue. Oh, in Drumheller. I did hear about that. Yeah. That is a shame. I mean, again, maybe that's what made you think of it, but, you know, the outdoors in a place like this is not a super hospitable environment. You know, like, you're dealing with extreme temperature fluctuations, sun and wind and rain and snow and freeze-thaw. It's something. And, Be at Easel. Hey, thank you for the raid. Welcome to Paleontologizing. It's good to have you here. Shoot. We're the trash men. We've come to throw art all over the ring. Well, it is good to have you here. Welcome, welcome, Vic Man. How was your stream, Be at Easel? I hope it was really good. You were doing some art, were you? Excellent. Yeah. Well, welcome, welcome. I guess we're moving from art to science, which art and science have a lot of very interesting and important connections. But I'm out here in western Wyoming, and we're digging up some fossils here on a dinosaur dig here with the Mesozoic Research Center. My name is Danny Anduza. I'm a dinosaur paleontologist, and this is my first day out here this season. Just arrived last night. I'll be streaming hopefully every day for the next 2 weeks, digging up dinosaurs and other fossil critters in the late Cretaceous Almond Formation of Wyoming, kind of near the town of Green River, if you know where that is. But welcome, welcome. And worked on my Alice in Wonderland project. Oh, very cool. Yeah. Welcome, welcome, Be at Easel. Here, I'll show you around the quarry a little bit. And Voss had another question. Do fossils have a limited amount of time to be dug up before they're destroyed or broken down naturally? Absolutely, yeah. It depends where you're at and what kind of weather you get. You know, if you're getting a tremendous amount of rain and snow and wind and everything else, things will break down faster. It also depends on how well preserved the thing is. If you have a super well preserved fossil that's really robust, then that might last years and years on the surface. If it's something that is really delicate, maybe it's not super well permineralized, it's kind of delicate and weak, it's not going to last very long at all on the surface. So preservation is a big part of it. And do you all camp out there? We do, Boogie's Bungalow, yeah. So camp is a few miles away. We've got different crews working. Well, we're on the same crew, but we've got different sites that members of the crew are working on right now. And I'm here at the Turtle Hill site. And right now there's just 3 of us here. Hopefully later in the afternoon our paleobotanist friends will be joining us. They're working just up there, a few meters away from us. But they've got some incredible plant fossils that they're finding. But yeah, for right now it's just us. Yeah. And anyhow. And Murph says 3 to 4 sites this year. Let's see, we've got here, Turtle Hill. We've got the Ankylosaur site. We've got the Ceratopsian site. We've got Purple Puzzle. And I think they might be working at Scattered Plain, which is another duckbill dinosaur site. And we're going to be finding a bunch of new sites this year, too, when Logan gets here. He's going to be out prospecting with some other folks, and very excited about that. And everybody who contributed to the fundraiser, more than $50, if you contributed a name to that, well, then we'll name one of the sites after you, or after whatever you suggested. So, yeah. But, yeah. And Ms. Blue Sky says, do you look in different places for plant versus animal fossils? We look for animals down here. We look for plants up there. Now, that being said, we do find a lot of plants here, too. So we've got these different layers that we call the plant hash layers. But we just get all kinds of plant material in here. Little bits of organic material from plants. Just as the stuff was decomposing at the bottom of this lake, or swamp. This could be more of a swamp than it is a lake. I don't know. These things they have loosey-goosey boundaries, I guess. Swamps versus lakes. But yeah, here we go. Here is a fragment of a leaf that I found earlier. See the veins in it right there? That is 70+ million years old. It looks just like that. Pretty cool. So, probably some kind of angiosperm, some sort of flowering plant. Could be a dogwood or a laurel or something. I don't know. But yeah. So sometimes you do get plant and animal fossils preserved together. Oftentimes they take different conditions to fossilize them well. But, well, shoot, both of these guys were working at DMNS not too long ago, where the teen Rex specimen is. We've got this beautiful palm frond that's preserved like right next to a tyrannosaur skull. Yeah?
It's not there anymore.
Oh, it's not there anymore. Did it move? Oh, okay.
Well, supposedly they tore the frond out.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
They separated them?
Yeah, they're trying to get to the femur.
That makes sense. Okay, yeah. Well, they were really cool. I got to take a picture of that when I was there in February before they took it off display. I think I was there like the week before they closed that temporary exhibit, but man, was that gorgeous. I mean, you got to see that, right?
I was a preparator on it.
You were a preparator on it? Holy cow, Martin, yeah. Awesome.
It might be back on display. I don't know how long it took them to take the frond out.
Right, yeah. Do you think they'll put it back in place, or?
I don't think they kept it. I don't think they saved it.
Oh, really? So they broke apart the frond?
Yeah.
Wow. Paleobotanists are weeping in the chat. That's some anti-plant bias right there. But, no, the point is you do get plant and animal fossils in the same place sometimes. It's not super common, but it does happen. Yeah. And, yeah. And Puggo Wuggo. Yeah, you'll notice something when you look at the faunal list for this formation is, none of the dinosaurs are named. So that's the cool thing, is we're finding dinosaurs at various sites here, and each one will likely be new to science. Some of them could be represented in other formations elsewhere, like maybe our duckbill or our ceratopsian is the same as a critter that you get in a different formation, but we don't think so far. We've got reason to suspect that just about everything that we're finding here is new, which is really exciting, you know? That's not super out of the ordinary. On average, there's about 35 to 45 new dinosaur species that get named every year. This year, we might be closer to 50, maybe even more, if current trends continue. 2026 has been a good year. But, again, these things, they can take decades after the initial discovery to when the animal actually gets published as a new species. But yeah. Anywho, yeah. And we are in the age of discovery. Absolutely, dinosaurs are cool too. Welcome to western Wyoming. I was showing off a few little... Fisher was helping me show off a few little bits of dinosaur material earlier. Some teeth and stuff, but... Oh, he grabbed the toilet paper. What's he doing? Fisher's gonna wrap up an important fossil, looks like. Maybe we can go bug him for a second. But yeah, again, at this site we've mostly got what we call microvertebrates and plants, and maybe even a few inverts here and there. But yeah, what are you wrapping up, Fish?
I'm going to be putting away these ribs.
Nice, okay. Cool.
Everything in this little lid here is going to get put away here momentarily.
Nice. Probably fish ribs.
Already started, yeah. I'm just calling them Melvius ribs for now because we already have a category for that.
Nice.
But they may be something else.
Yeah. Very cool. Okay.
An assignment, but
nice.
It's a logbook, so it's important for...
There we go. Yeah. Take those data. In many ways, this is as important, or almost as important, as the fossils themselves.
It's knowing the data was collected, the layer it was from, field ID, field number.
Right. Nice. Cool. Again, this is the sort of thing that a scientific crew does, that if we were just a bunch of yahoos out here just collecting fossils for kicks and giggles, we wouldn't be collecting that kind of data, wouldn't be working at the site with this level of precision that we're using. But yeah. But yeah. Beat Easel says, what's your favorite fossil that you found? That I've found? Oh, goodness. I found what will hopefully be a new species of horned dinosaur in the Judith River Formation back in 2012. It's not been published yet. Hopefully will be soon. Well, this water bottle's empty. But that was pretty darn cool. I'm very proud of that. And we might be hearing more about that later in the summer, because I'm going to be going out and joining that same crew, or at least the same crew chiefs that I was working with back then. I'm going to be heading up to Montana around the middle of the month and linking up with Denver and Liz Friedman Fowler of the Badlands Dinosaur Museum. We'll be working up in northern Montana and digging up some tyrannosaurs and an ankylosaur, armored dinosaur, some duckbills, whatever else we get too. So it's going to be pretty cool. I'm very excited about that. Yeah. And Kessler Dreamer says, why does it take so long to publish? Give me just a second and I'll explain. I'm going to check on my solar panel up there too. I think it fell over. And here we go. And look at these, just these lovely leaf fossils, just discarded, being thrown down the hill. These are not quite scientific grade, not quite well preserved enough to be able to go back to the museum and take up space there. So, there they are. To be left to the forces of erosion, like they have been for several million years at this point. Yeah. But yeah. And maybe, yeah, probably Daspletosaurus and Gorgosaurus. We're working up there in the Judith River Formation. But yeah, they'll be, again, later in the month. I'm up in Montana. Alright, solar panel. Supposed to be collecting sun and shielding the solar battery too. Stay there. goodness. Yeah, so the question was, why does it take so long to get these things published? And, oh boy, well, so when we say published, we mean an article about these fossils with like a proper scientific description and all of that. You might have a new species that you're naming. You have novel scientific information that you're putting into an article and then publishing that in a scientific journal. That is a lot more work than it sounds like. Oftentimes when we're doing fieldwork like this, say we find, for the sake of argument, a new species of dinosaur. Say we find one right there next to that bush. After the initial discovery, you dig around it, you find kind of the extent of the fossil material. It can take one or maybe multiple seasons to properly excavate something like that. I've worked at sites before where they've been working them for about 10 years because there's a whole bone bed with like maybe 20 or 30 individual dinosaurs in there, but their bones all scattered all over the place. So even the excavation itself can sometimes take years and years or decades potentially. And then once you've got the fossils out, you've got to get them back to the laboratory. Sometimes that travel time takes quite a while, but hopefully you get it back within that year. And then it could sometimes take years in order to clean away the rock from the fossils in the laboratory, especially if you have wonky things going on with preservation. Maybe the surrounding matrix, all the rock around it is really, really hard, and the bone itself is very soft and delicate. That can present a lot of challenges, make things take even longer. And then after that, you accession it into the collections in a museum. That alone can take some work and some time. And then you have to photograph it, measure it, study it, write it up. You have to read all of the literature about everything else that's related to that critter. If you're arguing it's a new species, you have to be able to make a really strong argument as to why. Sometimes you do histological analysis or isotopic analysis. You've got to send parts off to laboratories across the country or around the world, and that can take a long time. You might be waiting on another team to send you back your results. And this is all assuming that, like, you're not a graduate student and already working on your thesis, and you have to put this thing on the back burner for a decade before you can return to it. There's a lot that can go into delaying these things, so that once you discover a new dinosaur, it could be years, could be decades before it actually gets published and announced to the world. And I recognize that can be kind of frustrating to folks at home because you want to see, instant results. I've been working here in Wyoming this is my 4th year with this crew in this region, and we haven't gotten anything published quite yet. There's a few conference abstracts, so we've presented on some of this work at some scientific conferences, but nothing has been peer-reviewed and published in a scientific journal yet. And we've got what we think are several new species of dinosaur, but many of these are taking years to excavate. There's the Ceratopsian site down the road from us, where we've got what could very well be a new species of horned dinosaur, but there's a tremendous amount of rock that they have to remove to try and get to the rest of the skeleton, if it's in there. We've got some good parts of the skull, but there might be more. We don't really have enough to be super confident in naming it as a new species and publishing it, especially when we think there might be more in there. So, and that alone is taking a long time just because the rock there is so incredibly hard that we have to resort to extreme measures to get through it. So there's these big, bulky blocks of sandstone overhead over the bone layer, and we got to use maybe jackhammers. We might have to use chemical means to expand the rock and crack it. We might use masonry tools like a feather wedge kind of a deal to go through that. That's what one of the teams is working on right now as we speak, over there at the Ceratopsian site, the horned dinosaur site. So yeah. And Gojira says science moves slowly to get it right. It's the nature of the beast. Oftentimes, yeah. There have definitely been times when I've seen other teams rush stuff into publication, and maybe they're making mistakes left and right, and somehow it still makes it through peer review and gets published, and then there's rebuttal papers that come out afterward being like, nope, you got this wrong, you got that wrong, we're not sure about your conclusions here. So yeah. And Paleohorn, hey, is it Nick Hornacek in the chat? This is a new hat, yeah. I finally decided to retire my venerable old field hat after 17 years. This is a brand new hat, same make and model, but brand new one. So I'm breaking it in this year. The old one was starting to develop some cracks in the leather right here around the crown, and I didn't want it to fall apart on me in the field, you know? That hat's been so good to me over the years. It's been on my head for I don't know how many field seasons, protecting me from the sun. It's been underwater various times for various reasons. It's been run over by trucks. It's swatted flies. It's, you know, held important fossils in it to keep them consolidated before we can wrap them. That hat's been very good to me, and I didn't want it to have a catastrophic death, so I got a new one. We'll see if this one lasts another 17 years. I kind of doubt it. They're no longer made in the USA. This one was made in... where is it? Dominican Republic. And the materials just don't feel quite as high quality. So I doubt this one will last 17 years, but we'll see. Yeah. See the new paper on the arrangement of Ankylosaurus' armor. I have not, no. Is there another new paper about that? There was a cool one that I saw a few years ago where they had a little side-by-side diagram of the different arrangements of armor. It was like Barnum Brown in 1906, I think. And then it had like Ken Carpenter or Victoria Arbor, and then that current paper, and yeah. So it's cool, like the more specimens we dig up and the more work that we do, the clearer a picture of these dinosaurs and all of their contemporaries and the environments they lived in, the clearer that picture gets. You know what I mean? Yeah. Anywho. And exactly, Paralititan, yep. From fossil to paper, or multiple papers can take quite a while. Absolutely, yeah. And sometimes it's like, sometimes if you have a new field area and you're a little protective of it because you don't want, say, like commercial groups or people like that swooping in and elbowing you out of the way, sometimes you might wait and have a bunch of papers ready to publish all at the same time. Because, like, once the cat's out of the bag, everybody knows about your field area now. I'm not saying that's the case here, but that definitely does happen. That is definitely a thing. Yeah. And... oh, and Creepy Anime had a question about species definitions. Oh, man. This is one of the hottest and most contentious topics in evolutionary biology, including, like, dinosaur paleontology. What constitutes a species, you know? How do you tell different species apart? It's really... when you don't have DNA to work with, DNA can be a slightly less subjective way to determine what is... if two different individuals are members of the same species or not. When you don't have DNA, like in the case of fossils, then you just have to rely on morphology, you know, the shapes of the bones, that kind of thing, and that can be tricky. So, and I'm particularly leery about this now, cautious about this, because some things that I was pretty sure about up until last year are now totally different, you know? I was not on Team Nanotyrannus, if you know what that is, until that new paper last October. I thought, no, it's just a juvenile Tyrannosaurus. There's no reason to think that critter is an entirely different Tyrannosaur living in the same environment that just happens to look very much like a juvenile. Although it turns out that's exactly what it was. So yeah, it's tricky, you know? And I think that sort of thing... it's an important lesson because it reminds us not to be too confident, too comfortable with the current consensus on things, because one fossil can just change your entire conception of of what a particular species is and who should belong to it. You know what I mean? Science is not about coming up with nice, comfortable stories that we tell ourselves. Like, oh, I guess that makes sense, and we like this idea. No. Science is about trying to find out what's actually true by using data to test things. You're running experiments. You're doing analyses. You're trying to figure out what's real, regardless of how it makes us feel or which ideas we like or whatever. As a scientist, a good scientist, she should care most about what's actually true, much, much more so than a story that makes sense to her or she likes or whatever. You know what I mean? As scientists, our first obligation is to facts, to truth. Not to get too philosophical about it, but you know what I mean. Yeah. Happy Pride Month to you too, Bugga Bugga. Thanks for being here. Yeah. Anyway, it is June 2nd today, isn't it? I'll be out here until, I think I'm probably going to leave on the 16th and then head up to Montana. So, a bit shorter than last year. I was out here for over a month last year. But I got invited out to join another crew, and I think we've made some important contributions to this already. Holy cow, viewers of Paleontologizing here contributed well over $3,000 to help fund our work out here, and Ethan is pretty happy about that. We, as far as I know, don't have any federal or state grants or any kind of government support like that to do this sort of work. Those sorts of things are drying up right now anyway. Our work here it's funded by people like you. So thank you for that. We've been very lucky, and we do manage to do a lot with very little money for the most part. Our largest expenses are like a truck rental to get a big dumb diesel truck, which we kind of need for hauling massive dinosaur jackets. And then food and fuel are our other major expenses. And thank you. Holy cow. Reagan Nation, thank you for the gift subs. I really appreciate that. You're helping me pay the bills while I'm out here. That's the only reason I can contribute to this kind of work and spend a couple months out of my year out doing paleontological fieldwork. It's because of supporters like you, so thank you, Reagan Nation. I really appreciate it. Yeah. And Nerdowino, how are you doing? Hello. I hope you're having a good day, Nerdowino. It's good to see you. And let's see. Kim was asking about how you get such digging up jobs. Who is paying that? We're not getting paid here. No, this is volunteer work. So we have kind of an interesting crew here in that we've got a lot of different people from different walks of life. We have students, we have professional paleontologists, we have freelance paleontologists like me, we have just like enthusiastic members of the public who have applied and maybe they know somebody on the crew. There's a bunch of different programs like this around the country and around the world, and they volunteer usually on mostly volunteer labor. They rely on volunteer labor for the most part, is what I meant to say. So Fisher over here is a master's student at the University of the Pacific. Mm-hmm. Nice. Which, oddly enough, is actually in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean. No, I'm just kidding. It's in, Modesto? Stockton. Well, I keep getting that mixed up.
I don't want to remember Stockton either.
I'm sorry, Fisher. Yeah. So, anyway, how did you meet Ethan in the first place? How did you get involved with this?
So, my undergraduate advisor is a guy called Pat O'Connor.
Yeah, I got to meet Pat at DMNS at Denver back in February. Really, really awesome guy.
So I did my undergraduate at Ohio University, where he has or maybe had a lab. I don't know. It's weird. He spends most of his time in Denver now because he's the director of Earth and Space Sciences there.
Right, yeah.
But he has or had a lab at OU. and I worked there for 4 years as a lab technician doing a lot of like CT work.
Nice.
And so during my first year as a student in his lab, he got in contact with his friend Don DeBlue, who works at the Utah Geological Survey for now.
Don. Yeah.
And asked if I wanted to participate in a field expedition with Don and Jim Kirkland and all the other UGS personnel. And of course I accepted that, and I went out and I did 3 weeks in Dolings Bowl in 2021. And so my first time I met Ethan was at Don's house when I arrived for dinner.
Nice.
He had just come back from here with Logan.
Oh, cool.
And so I met Ethan for about an hour that year, and then the following year I came back to Dolings Bowl, which is where I met Danny, and Ethan was there for the entirety of that field season, and then that's kind of where the three of us got to know each other, and then the next year we came out here, and it's been happening every year since.
Oh, so your first year out here was the same as mine, 2023?
2023.
Nice, okay. I thought Fisher was out here a year. You were at Dolings Bowl a year before I was.
Yes.
Yeah, nice. So yeah, I guess the moral of the story is, and thank you, Fisher, moral of the story is it's kind of who you know. You build connections in this field, and you get asked to join field crews, and there are field crews around the country and around the world where you as a stranger can apply to a program, and it helps if you have references or you have somebody to vouch for you, like, oh yeah, this person, they can be trusted in the field, they won't be breaking the fossils, they won't be wandering off of cliffs or anything, you know, you won't need to call a helicopter to evacuate them, you know, they're cool. These are important traits to have. Not walking off cliffs, not requiring medical evac, that kind of thing. But yeah, a big part of it is just kind of who you know. And the first connection to make is usually the most difficult one, but once you got that, just kind of see where things go. Yeah. Can I bug you for a second, Martin? Ask
sure.
How you got involved with this whole mess?
Well, my connection was Fisher.
Okay, nice.
So Fisher and I were interns at the same time at the Denver Museum of Nature and Science. We hit it off, we became friends, and he invited me out here last year. I could only make it for a few days last year, but I set aside some more time, spending about a week out here now.
Awesome. Yeah, great to have you here, Martin.
Yeah.
So yeah, there you go, chat. These are kind of the way that things work. And Gojira says, how strange do you need to be out here? We were actually talking about this earlier. Like, it takes a certain kind of person to really kind of pursue paleontology as career. Almost sounds too lofty as like something that they do, but like you got to be maybe just a little bit crazy, the right kind of crazy. People do this kind of thing. Yeah.
Yep.
That
thing.
But yeah. And thank you so much. You bet, Kim. Thanks for asking the question. Yeah. Same for archaeology. There you go, Becca Paintmore. That makes sense. Yeah. Let me drink some water. Ooh. Anything good over there, Martin?
I haven't found something in a bit.
Yeah.
Maybe a couple of teeth.
Oh.
Potentially.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Next to probably garbage, flat piece of bone, but maybe something cool.
Okay. You've already hit those with some glue, which is why they're so shiny.
Yep.
Let me get a up-close shot of that. Don't mind. There we go. Yeah. Nice. Cool. Yeah. Pickings have been kind of slim over here. It's kind of feast or famine at this site. Like, sometimes you find a really good spot, which could just be like a few inches, where there's just all kinds of really cool stuff. And sometimes you just work on a whole day and don't really find much of anything. Yeah. Looks like they're getting some rain clouds over there, but those have already drifted past us. We don't have to worry about that. But I should keep an eye on the horizon, make sure we're not going to get swamped with rain. We'll see. Yeah. And it's back in here. Nice. And you're working above the coal layer, asks Murph. Let's see. So I think the primary coal layer is down pretty low, right?
Primary coal layer underlies the entire...
Right, so we're above that at this point, yeah. Oh, and there's our paleobotanist friends coming back. Excellent. Cool. So some of you might remember Whitney from last year. She's here with her crew. And her new advisor. She's starting her... Is it her master's, or I think it's her PhD. She's doing her... Is it master's? Oh, okay. Yeah. So, if anybody wanted to hear about fossil plants, you might be in luck. But, yeah. Yeah. And Paralotitan says it's a tough career to follow through, at least if you want to do the academic route. It is, yeah. Especially, it's getting worse. It's getting a lot worse. I mean, in large part, thanks to this current presidential regime in the United States. It's got reverberations that echo throughout the world, unfortunately. But science in the U.S. right now is, well, people in power are trying to strangle it. And they're doing it right now. I feel very lucky to be in the position that I'm in, where, you know, I went to school for paleontology, but I'm not going the traditional academic route anymore. I do science outreach full-time. These live streams are literally my full-time job. And I've been very lucky in that regard, that this has actually taken off and I can make a living doing it. And in doing these live streams and sharing this work with the world, I actually make my living, which is, again, nuts. That's so cool that I get to do this. And I can still do field work, I can still travel, I can still conduct research and publish papers, although I should be doing a lot more publishing than I have been. So it goes, you know. But I've been very, very lucky. There are... I don't think there's any other paleontologist on the planet who makes his or her living or their living by live streaming. So I've been tremendously lucky. Yeah. But yeah. And you bet, Kim, yeah. Yeah. We'll go join up with them in a second, but just had a new crew member who flew in just this afternoon. They just picked her up from the airport, or maybe it was earlier this morning she flew in. But anyway, they just picked her up, and we'll let them settle in a little bit before we shove a camera in their face. Yeah. And I did tap into a great niche. I've been very lucky. It's because of the generosity and support of this community that any of this is possible. So everybody watching, thank you so much for that. I cannot tell you how grateful I am. Seriously. It's... I feel so incredibly lucky. And as a result, I want to share as much of this as I can with you. And if there's anybody watching who maybe you grew up loving dinosaurs, but then kind of lost that later on in life, maybe you dreamed of becoming a paleontologist and that didn't pan out. It doesn't pan out for most people. I want to be able to share this with you and show you what it's really like, so that you can enjoy this and recognize its importance and learn from it and be enriched by it, you know? Studying the history of life on Earth it gives us perspective that nothing else can, you know? I think about this a lot, how folks just like 200, 250 years ago, they had no idea all of these creatures that came before us, or the great antiquity of our planet, how old the Earth is. They had no idea about that. They had no idea about the interrelatedness of living things, how life evolves over time, where we fit into that as human beings, where we came from. People had no idea. And in large part, a lot of people still don't have any idea because they don't get taught this stuff in school. I want to help plug that gap. I want to help show you this, because it's a source of such tremendous joy to have some understanding of where we've been and maybe where we're going. just the notion of dinosaurs in particular, like these incredible reptiles that ruled our planet for over 150 million years. You know, this summer, especially here in the U.S., we're going to be hearing a lot about is it sesquicentennial? Anyway, 250 years since the signing of the Declaration of Independence. I think it's interesting to think about that, like, everybody who signed the Declaration of Independence, none of them knew what a dinosaur was. The word dinosaur hadn't even been coined until... It wouldn't be coined until 1824. 1842. What am I saying? 1824 was a description of iguanodon. 1842. George Washington went to his deathbed having never heard of dinosaurs. They hadn't been scientifically described yet, you know? That's wild. That we have this profound understanding of the history of life on Earth. We know what was here before us, and we're continuing to learn every day as we gather more and more information. To me, that is a source of such joy and incredible perspective to know that we as human beings have only been on this Earth for about 200,000 years in our present anatomical form. You know, anatomically modern humans. And yet the history of life on Earth goes back about 3 or 4 billion years. And dinosaurs are a very cool, very charismatic series of chapters in that grand story of the history of life on Earth. And we're out here contributing to that knowledge, you know? Yeah. And interesting, Reiko, to fundamentally alter how we see dinosaurs in a way nothing before or since has done. Yep, yeah. But paleontological outreach documentaries, live streams, etc. have really aided in shaping our perception of dinosaurs by making them even more real than the silver screen can do. Absolutely, Reiko. And I would argue that, you know, if it weren't for the paleontological work and the outreach work of people like, say, John Ostrom back in the 1970s, we wouldn't have had Jurassic Park, you know? It's such important work, and, like, I'm trying to contribute to that in some small way, you know? We're not going to have nearly as many viewers here on this channel as the latest Jurassic World movie, but this is real and immediate and interactive in a way that something like that, a major media enterprise, cannot be, you know? This is boots on the ground science. Collecting data live in the field, and I think that's pretty special. I like to think that's special, you know? Yeah. And Elwha links, I think Melville's novels had some dinosaur bones. So that, if you're thinking of Basilosaurus, that is a fossil whale, Elwha links. There's a whole chapter in Moby Dick about the fossil history of whales. It might even be called the fossil whale, I'm not sure. But I think he talks about Basilosaurus in that, which, despite its name, is not a dinosaur. It is a fossil whale. But yeah. Anywho. And there you go, Rhacodactylus. Absolutely, yeah. No, paleontology. It is a public-facing science in a way that many other sciences are not. And I think part of that is based on just, like, the history of popular culture and stuff. But part of that is just kind of inherent to fossil science, I think. Like, I don't know if it's inherent, but it's tied up in fossil science in a way that we don't get a lot of institutional support. Not a lot of federal grants, not a lot of federal funding, or state funding for that matter, that goes into dinosaur research, if we're talking about dinosaurs in particular. We kind of have to go out to the public hat in hand and be like, hey, we think we're doing really cool work here. We want you to be excited about it. Will you support us? And that's part of what I'm doing here, you know? So yeah, it is... I think it's a very publicly visible science in a lot of ways, too. You know? Yeah. Way too black box about it. I can see that, Reiko, yeah. I envy the more public-facing sciences like paleo, marine biology, and the like. You'll study cool things and by necessity out of the ivory tower. Yeah, not really in an ivory tower at the moment. Not really in any kind of tower, I would say. But yeah. And there you go, Queen Dark Lady. This is true. Dinosaurs do have a lot of charisma, in a way that maybe microorganisms don't necessarily have. Dinosaurs are certainly bigger. But yeah. Anyhow. Let's go check in on the boys and on the paleobotanist too. Yeah. Yeah. Ooh. Fisher and Martin are looking at something.
Yeah.
Did I hear pretty cool?
No, kind of. Yeah, so this intermediate bone bed that we found yesterday is not great. So it seems like most of, if not all of the kind of good stuff came out yesterday with the overburden. And it was quite good, to be fair. But the rest has been a little bit disappointing. So Martin's got like what looks like a little tooth and maybe like a little ungule right there. And then Danny, I don't think you found anything, did you?
I did not find anything.
Yeah, I had these.
There's a few like tiniest little bone fragments that were just like mixed in with the plant hash, essentially.
Yeah, but they're not worth worrying about.
Yeah, so we just threw them into one of these bags.
There's this thing here. Let's see.
But that's, again, it's kind of feast or famine, oftentimes.
Quite a few gar scales.
Oh yeah?
Yeah.
If you have any good ones, we'd love to see them if they come up in real time.
Yeah, he's got the bag there.
Oh, nice. Okay. Not good enough for vials, but...
Well, they're used for destructive analysis. So
oh, are these for Nick?
Yep.
Nice. Okay,
yeah,
cool.
So we don't use glue on them, but...
So he's going to be taking some samples from these and running isotopic analysis?
Yep.
Cool.
So,
yeah, classic gar scales.
Nice, nice. Interesting shape that I haven't seen before.
That is interesting. They do get, these weird ones kind of around their skull. Yeah. Neat. So those are scales, these bony scales, ganoid scales from a gar fish. Maybe you've heard of an alligator gar? Those of you in the chat?
Those are the river monsters.
Yeah, river. Yeah.
They're very distinctive because they shine like they're made of enamel.
Yep.
Do they not have a layer of enamel?
They might.
It's,
I think it's similar.
Ganoine, I don't know if that qualifies as enamel per se. Jim might know. Jim's there in the chat. How you doing, Jim?
Okay, this thing's kind of nice. Let's see.
Yeah. And Lynx is taking an ornithology course. Very cool, bird science. You are studying dinosaurs in that class. They touch on carotenoid pigments discovered near fossils. Carotenoid pigments discovered near... Huh. So carotenoids are what give flamingos their pink color from the food that they eat. I don't know if that fossilizes. Maybe you're thinking of melanosomes? The little organelles inside of cells they contain pigments. And that's one of the ways that we can potentially tell the colors of an extinct animal. If there's preserved skin or feathers on it, then we can look at the shapes of those melanosomes and determine the colors that they would represent. Is that what you're talking about? That's funny. I was just talking with Jim about this yesterday. That story might get a little bit more complicated in the coming months. But yeah. A freelancer says, so exciting to see another live dig. I'm glad you're here. Yeah. Here, let's go back. I'll show you that visual aid, and I'll point out the gar. We've got new people who have trickled into the chat. Again, we're here at the Turtle Hill site, where we've got this lovely kind of smorgasbord of different small critters that lived in this environment. We've got a few odds and ends of dinosaurs, some teeth, potentially a claw, but for the most part, what we're finding here are other kinds of critters. Ooh. There we go. So, turns out I didn't bring the one that Jim sent me. This is supposed to be like Judith River Formation here, but it still gives us a pretty good idea. Ignore the Champsosaura, that should be a croc instead. But there's Lepisosteus, a Cretaceous gar right there. So they're these really cool fishes that have these long toothy snouts, and they've got these bony scales, bony enamely scales that kind of coat their whole body. And they're kind of slow-moving, generally ambush predators in this ecosystem. They'll eat other little critters. And then you have all kinds of other fishes here too. Everything from elasmobranchs, like these sharky guys. This almost looks like a wobbegong. Hybodont sharks. We might not actually have hybodonts here at this locality. We've got, seems like sturgeon instead. So imagine some sturgeon in here. You all know what sturgeon look like, right? Yeah, and then we've got odds and ends from little amphibians and lizards and lots of pieces of turtles. And then even a few odds and ends of dinosaurs. And then tons of bowfin material. So this is Cyclurus right here, but our bowfin that we've got at the site is called Melvius, and it's bigger and meaner. Bowfin are still around today in North America. There's, one species left in the world, I think? Amia calva is the modern bowfin. Really cool fish. They're so neat. But they were quite common and much more speciose. There's more species of them during the Cretaceous, the last period in the Age of Dinosaurs. So yeah. Anywho, yeah. Good to see you back, Whitney. Yeah.
See you.
Anybody in the chat remember Whitney from last year, our resident paleobotanist? You're doing your PhD or your master's?
My master's.
Master's,
yeah.
Nice. Yeah. Very cool. So, wrapping up some more fossils. We had a whole 400 level course on fossil leaf wrapping last year.
Oh yeah.
That was a lot of fun.
Yeah, there's been a lot of changes to our techniques.
Oh really?
No, not in like 30 years.
Yeah. Nice. We've got the non-perforated toilet paper.
Oh yeah,
again.
very important. Very hard to find. We tried to find it at Walmart today.
Oh really?
Yeah, we're like almost out.
Shoot.
In like a day and a half. We're like.
Oh wow. Okay.
It's okay. I think Paul's gonna bring some, but.
Nice. Okay. Have to probably go to
we
like
had
janitorial
to buy,
supply store or something
yeah, we had to buy
get it.
perforated for when this runs out. So
that's gonna
you don't
be a
want to
pain
be
in the
here
butt.
for that.
Yeah. Okay.
We'll be crashing out.
Yeah.
You said Jim was on?
Yeah, Jim.
Hi,
Kirkland
Jim.
Yeah, and we have several members of chat who remember you. Oh, yeah, she was so fun. We remember. Hi, Whitney. Familiar face. Good to see you. Yeah. Nice. But yeah, when you've got some time in a few minutes, maybe.
I don't have anything striking to show you, but
yeah.
I could show you a couple things.
We're actually looking at a few discarded ones down the hill, and we're like, this is nice. Shoot, this was not worth collecting?
We have higher standards this year.
Yeah.
You're number 3, so...
Okay.
So, do you want to see some of what we have, though?
That'd be great.
This is our maybe pile, so it's like almost discard, but not quite.
Lovely leaf there, yeah.
I don't know if
Nice.
that's showing up okay.
Yeah, I'm sure
But then
it is.
the counterpart is right here, I think.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, so this...
Okay, it fits on right there.
Yeah, like that.
Yeah.
And then there's another leaf here that could probably be prepped out.
Oh, nice. Okay.
So.
Remove the rock in the lab and find the leaf underneath.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Hopefully there's like a petiole, like a little stem.
Oh, cool. Okay.
So, yeah. And then we have, this is like more of like our like hashy material.
Ooh, nice.
Ooh.
Oh, what is that?
I don't know what that is.
Huh.
Dana, do you know what that is?
No.
Interesting.
That is crazy. We should probably collect that.
Yeah, it's in the plant hash layer.
Weird.
The plant
okay.
hash layer has more like diverse stuff that isn't just like leaves.
Uh-huh.
That's exciting.
Question, ginkgo leaves? Oh.
We have one ginkgo leaf from last year.
From the entire formation.
Well, from this site.
Oh, from
There's
this site.
one
Okay.
site that was collected in like the 50s.
Oh, okay.
From the other side of the uplift.
Uh-huh.
That had a couple of ginkgo leaves, but they like collected from a few different sites and then didn't write down what their localities were. And then
Oh boy,
so we can't
said
use
bad
them.
provenance data.
But that's okay. I mean,
yeah.
it was the 50s.
Yeah.
They were trying
Yeah,
their
there you
best.
go, yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
sure they had the data and we lost it.
Yeah. So yeah, ginkgo's not as common as I would imagine.
It's more for in like colder temperatures.
Gotcha. So we're a little bit too far south here
Yeah.
to have many geckos. Okay. Yeah. And speaking of which, could you maybe do a little spiel on how paleobotany like this is super important for figuring out the climate?
Yeah, so
Yeah.
what we do is it's called digital leaf physiognomy. So it's using leaf traits that are climate sensitive, so things like teeth or leaf size or size of teeth, all those
When we say
things.
teeth, do you mean like the serrations on the
Yes.
People are going to picture like enamel teeth.
I wonder if I have any leaves here with teeth. No, this one kind of has teeth, but it's not very good. Whatever. You know what a toothy leaf looks like?
Yeah, it's just like the saw blade edge to a
Yeah.
leaf, yeah. Yeah.
And so generally, teeth on leaves are found, or they're more common in cooler climates, and
Yeah.
it's like a relationship that we've understood pretty well for a long time.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're using digital leaf physiognomy, measuring these traits on a bunch of different sites, and then it will give us like a temperature and rainfall estimate
Okay.
for the area, and it's like calibrated to forests today around the world, and these traits are like well understood or fairly well understood.
So it's like this works really well in the present day. If you know the shape and the morphology
Yeah.
and all of that of a
Yeah.
leaf, you can tell what kind of climate does it thrive in.
Exactly, and it's
Yeah.
not a perfect method, but the more we use it, the better it
Right.
gets, and so.
Are there any like hard and fast things that you can say about it where it's like, oh yeah, well it never freezes here because we have this kind of leaf or something?
I wouldn't say anything hard and fast like that about
Palms.
palms.
Oh, okay, yeah. And yeah, palms you don't really associate typically with
It freezes.
freezing temperatures. Yeah. Yeah. Nice. Okay. Cool.
Exactly.
Yeah, awesome. Oh, and here, Jim wanted to see this again, so we'll show you, Jim. If you want to take a screenshot or something.
I'm really excited about that on camera.
But yeah.
I know what it is.
But that looks really weird. I don't know what that is. Huh. Strange. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not gonna say any magic words or anything on camera. I bet it's like some kind of seed pod.
Mm-hmm.
Something like, oh, it starts with an A. I'm gonna embarrass myself.
Oh, no worries. I don't know any of these words.
Shit. Well, it's in my brain somewhere, and I'll think of it. We have.
Yeah. I'll hear you shout it later when it comes to you.
There's a seed pod that looks kind of like this that we
seed
have
pod,
in the
interesting.
Neslin.
Okay. Yeah. Neat.
And I'm gonna remember at some point.
Yeah. You wake up in the middle of the night and shout it, yeah.
I'm gonna run up the hill, Danny.
Nice.
Yeah.
And is it a beetle shell? No, that is a plant. Everyone's like, oh, is that a fish?
It's
Is it a beetle? Is
it's for sure a plant.
Yeah.
I know, I'm very interested in that. We will keep it. But yeah, we get mostly angiosperm leaves, but we've also got like metasequoia and we don't have.
Oh yeah, let me get that
actual
diagram actually.
palms
We'll look
here.
at some of this.
Oh yeah.
No palms yet?
Well, I think we've got some like monocot bits. So
Okay.
palms are a monocot
Yeah.
from like previous years, but we haven't seen any this year.
Could it be that they're just? Is it like a size bias thing? Because I think of palm fronds being big, and everything we're seeing here is not.
Yeah, I'm sure
particularly
it's
huge.
just a depositional thing.
Yeah, makes sense. And let me grab that visual aid. And yeah, here we go. So again, we're talking about a pretty warm kind of environment here, I would imagine, back in the Cretaceous.
Yeah.
So again, this is like generally the sort of environment we're talking about here. Pretty swampy. What would you say about the lithology here, actually? Is this like lake bed, swamp?
I think it's something like some pond to a lake kind of situation.
Yeah.
It's very silica rich, so all of our rocks break like conchoidally.
Oh,
which
interesting.
is hard.
Yeah.
But it's fun. I mean, this maybe isn't the greatest example, but they all like are chipping in these like curved surfaces.
Weird, yeah.
And then like except where the leaf is. So like this is a really common example where it'll just be like curved into where the leaf is and then flattened out.
Because
So
as you were
these are all,
saying
like,
earlier,
edges.
the leaf kind of forms a weak spot along there. and-
Exactly. But there's
Yeah.
like no natural bedding planes that this is breaking on.
Interesting.
Yeah. Which makes
So
it
kind of a
difficult, but
massive mudstone.
it's like makes it well, yeah, I think it's a fine sand, but yeah, maybe
okay.
mud,
Yeah.
something in between. I haven't stuck it in my mouth yet, so I don't know.
Yeah. Neat.
Yeah.
Yeah. So here's again, this is... Today, what we call North America was once divided in two by the seaway, so we're looking at the western states over here. I could show you another diagram in a minute to help make a little bit more sense. This is just a quick diagram I found online and laminated. But, yeah, so we're here in... Well, we're about here, I guess, in Wyoming. Up north you have Montana, down south you have Utah. And then all kinds of different critters walking, running, flying around here. And then lots of interesting plants, too. So we've got that metasequoia, like you were mentioning. That's our dawn redwood right here. And that genus is actually still around. I was once growing a metasequoia. It died, unfortunately. But, yeah.
You are not the Cretaceous.
Right, but beautiful plant, metasequoia. I don't know the species name, but oh well.
I don't know what species we have exactly. I haven't done that much digging, but yeah, we've got
ginkgo trees, ferns.
And what's cool is for my master's, I'm comparing Caparowitz, Neslin, and almond.
Very cool.
Like stretching some latitudinally.
Yeah.
And
so for those of you in the chat, those are 3 different geological formations across different states. So you're kind of getting a sense for like what these different habitats are like latitudinally in the south and in the north, and what's the temperature doing in these different places.
Exactly, like what the temperature gradient is more specifically.
Yeah.
Because I think it's really steep compared to like globally.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Huh.
But what I was going to say is we find there's a few species that we find in all 3, and metasequoia is one of them.
Okay, pretty adaptable.
Yeah.
Yeah, interesting. Let's see. Miss Caprikel says, "Ask Whitney, is it Asteraceae?" I don't think so.
I think. Well, that's. I think yes.
Yeah?
But I mean, I don't know if that's what that is. But that's the seed pod that I'm thinking of.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
Thank you. Who said that?
That was Miss Caprikel.
Well, amazing. Thank you. Yes, you're right.
There's a reason she's got a VIP badge in the chat.
I was like, wow, that was awesome. What a good pull. Damn, niche.
Yeah. Oh, and so he says, "Nice jackets." Cool.
Thank you.
Yeah. Excellent. Yeah, cool stuff. I might bug the rest of your crew real quick too.
Yeah, I mean, they should introduce themselves.
Yeah, we haven't met yet, actually. I
just got here.
Hey, I'm Danny. Good to meet you.
Nice to meet you. I'm Zoe.
Zoe, great to meet you.
I just flew in.
Yeah,
like
welcome.
2 hours ago.
Nice.
Yeah.
Awesome. And we have Dr. Dana here.
Yeah. Dana Ryer, so I'm at Wesleyan University.
Nice.
And I'm Whitney's thesis advisor.
Okay, cool. So
this is my first time at this place.
Nice. How do you like it so far?
It's nice.
Yeah. Yeah. Pretty good fossils, I hope.
Different than Connecticut in a few ways.
A little bit different, maybe. Yeah.
Slightly.
Yeah. And then
I'm Sebastian.
Sebastian?
I'm like technically Whitney's assistant.
Okay, yeah.
Technically.
Have you been enjoying the fieldwork so far?
I've loved it. I don't know. It's so cool. Everyone is so awesome who works out here.
Glad to hear that. Yeah, we've got a pretty good crew. Yeah. So cool. And we've got, not to give you stage fright, 373 people watching at this very moment.
That's awesome.
Hello, doing some science outreach here. Yeah. So Zoe, I do a science outreach program. That's how I make my living.
Oh, wonderful.
And how I fund my research and fieldwork and everything else. So.
That's incredible.
Yeah, thanks. So I'm a dinosaur guy first and foremost, so I don't know a whole lot about plants. I'll probably embarrass myself a little bit, but yeah, this is just really cool to see this. I've not done a lot of paleobotanical fieldwork, so this is pretty special, and I always like kind of zero in on this whenever somebody's working in this quarry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The big difference is we go through a lot more rock.
Right, yeah. You're just throwing stuff down the hill, yeah. Whereas we're saving all these little chunks of matrix, like maybe there's a mammal tooth in here and we can hope. One in a million chance.
Anything we quarry and there's like, oh, there's nothing in here.
Yeah.
You just chuck it down the hill.
There you go, yeah. Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. So cool. Is there a particular group of plants that you specialize in?
Not really.
Not really?
I'm more of a tool. I think of plants as methods.
Yeah, okay.
So using plants to help us understand their paleo environments.
Nice, yeah.
So you heard from Whitney's project. It's about paleoclimate, the temperature, the rainfall.
Right, yeah.
I've also done work to reconstruct the amount of CO2 in the atmosphere
based
on
cool.
fossil leaves.
Is that like with the stomata count or something like that?
Yeah.
Very cool. Can you explain that really briefly? Because I find this stuff really fascinating, and I feel like you at home might too. Yeah. It sounds like such a simple thing, but it's such an elegant kind of method, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So cut me off if I'm going too long.
No, not a chance.
But yeah, so leaves are covered in a waxy material called cuticle that helps prevent water loss. But there's pores on that waxy surface that allows some gas exchange. So plants are taking up CO2 to make sugar. They're releasing oxygen and they're releasing water vapor. And so it turns out that the leaves are water loss is a big deal for plants. They're trying to minimize water loss, but they need to take up CO2 to make their sugar.
So they're kind of doing a balancing act.
There's this balancing act between carbon uptake and water loss, and it's those pores that control really that balance point.
Gotcha.
And the cool thing for paleobotany is that that cuticle, that waxy material, takes an imprint of the outermost layer of cells, like a wax seal. It's basically identical to that kind of process. And cuticle is very resistant to decay, so it's semi-common at fossil log crops. I don't think we have any here, but and you can go back to the origins of land plants over 400 million years ago. You can find cuticle with these stomatal pores.
Very cool. Okay.
And then you can look at measurements related to the size and the density of those pores to help understand what the CO2 was in the atmosphere.
Gotcha. So essentially, by like counting the number and the density of those pores, it can give you a sense for like how much moisture there is in that environment and what the temperature is like, that kind of deal.
Mostly the amount of CO2 in the atmosphere.
Levels. Okay, yeah. Neat.
Yeah.
So during the Cretaceous, and we know that things are generally wetter and warmer than they are today, CO2 levels, I would presume, are a lot higher.
Yeah. So, pre-industrial was 280 parts per million. We're at 420 something.
That's within like a couple hundred years. So are we rapidly approaching Cretaceous conditions again?
Well, so we're, what are we at, like 75 million years ago, roughly here in the Campanian. The data that we have from all kinds of CO2 methods put it above 1,000 parts per million.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So we might be there in like 50 years or so.
Yeah. Well, we could.
I hope not.
We could hit 1,000 parts per million before the end of the century.
That's insane. So like we could have crocodiles and palm trees again in Wyoming and massive sea level. Goodbye, Florida. It's just.
It will take time, but that's what the steady state for the Earth would be.
Right.
Largely ice-free, and palms in the Arctic.
Right.
Yeah.
Nuts. Okay. Again, I'm trying to hammer home why this is important to everybody watching at home. Like this kind of weird. This might seem a little arcane, like digging up fossil leaves and counting the pores, but this is really important work, and it's the kind of perspective that really only paleontology can give us. Thank you.
Well, thank you for giving that message. That's the message we try to tell people all the time.
Awesome. Yeah. If you find anything particularly exciting, yell up and I'll come take a look. But I'll be wandering around with the camera and answering questions and stuff from the chat. But
we took all of our good stuff down already. So
we'll
you
did?
We
just have to find some more stuff.
We'll have to have some good discoveries.
We'll get to witness the discoveries.
We're trying.
Yeah. And let's see. Oh, we did have a question about, what was it, carbon sequestration versus, this might be pertinent to your field. Grass versus trees for carbon sequestration. Well, which is better and why?
It's complicated.
Like most questions in science, there's going to be some nuance there. Yeah. But,
grasslands store a lot of carbon below ground,
right?
I mean, trees do too, but grasses proportionally put a lot of carbon underground.
Especially like prairie grasses where the roots might be like really 10 feet long. Yeah.
Trees, of course, store a lot of carbon above ground.
Yeah.
They're both important.
Yeah. Good answer.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there's, I guess, different ideal carbon sequesterers for different environments and different conditions. In an environment like this, there's not a lot of, it's kind of funny, there's not a lot of grass around here. We get these low kind of scrubby plants, we get these sagebrushes, and like I mentioned earlier, prickly pear cactus and stuff like that. I do kind of wonder why you don't get grasses along the hillsides. It might just be that there's just not enough rainfall here, not enough precipitation. Grasses just can't hack it in an area like this. That's probably why you don't see cattle all over this area. It's just, there's not a lot of forage for them. But yeah. And Baron Bile says, this is incredible work, makes so much sense, but would have never expected that stomata count could be bioindicators of oxygen levels. And carbon dioxide, mostly, like Dana was saying. But yeah. Again, it's cool stuff. Like, if you want to actually... And I'm going to return to this point a bunch of times this summer, but especially here at Turtle Hill. I'm a dinosaur guy. I'm really interested in dinosaurs. I think they're really cool. That's my research focus for the most part, but the fossil record is more than just dinosaurs. Holy cow. If we want to actually understand these ancient environments, you can't just look at the big, flashy, charismatic animals, the the A-list talent. You got to look at everybody else, all the supporting cast of characters in this grand drama, including, essentially the plants. They are incredibly important. The plants make the ecosystem. They are the basis of the food chain in most terrestrial ecosystems like this. If you don't understand the flora, the plant life, you're not going to understand this environment, and you're not going to understand the climate, the overall conditions that all these critters are adapted to live in. The plants are an excellent indicator of what's going on in this environment. What kind of ecosystem is this? In some ways, it's like, it's the plants' world, and we're just kind of living in it as animals. But yeah. And then we've got all kinds of other, maybe less animals that get a little bit less attention than the dinosaurs. Things like ray-finned fishes, amphibians, little reptiles, mammals at this site. And we get invertebrates too, which I should show you right here. We've got some lovely unionid clams. Right over here. Yeah, bivalves. Check this out. Whoop. Hang on, my cable is getting caught on this sagebrush here. Give me that. There we go. Check these out. Yeah, these lovely freshwater clams here, unionids. Really, really cool. I don't know enough about these guys, but Jim Kirkland was telling me about their life cycle and how they're parasitic. So like the larvae will go and they'll get stuck in the gills of a fish, and then the fish will carry them up or downstream into a new environment, and then I guess in just the right spot they drop off and they become a sessile. They concrete themselves to a substrate like this, maybe. Actually, I don't know if they are sessile. Maybe they're not. Maybe unionids move around like scallops. I don't know. Somebody can look it up. But yeah, really cool. So these have the potential to tell us a lot about this environment. Whether they're freshwater or saltwater or brackish water. We can get some idea of like the flow regime here. But this kind of tells us this is probably flowing water here. And with a sandstone like this, that would make a lot of sense. But yeah, pretty cool. Yeah. Anyhow, yeah. And you've heard about these wonky clams before, says Dr. Tara? They're really neat. Unionids. Yeah. There's not many people who work on these, despite them being really important and pretty widespread. You can find them at a lot of different places around the world, both in the fossil record and... I think, are unionids still around? Are they extant? Again, I told you I don't know much. I don't know much about these animals. Those bivalves. Oh, you have a ginkgo? Oh, holy cow.
Fresh.
Oh my goodness.
Less than a minute old.
Wow. Look at that. Holy cow. Yeah, lovely. Here, I'll point to it with my shadow here, with my finger. Right there. Yeah. So you see those streaks going up?
Yeah. Just like...
do you call it a petiole on a ginkgo too?
At the base, yeah.
Okay.
At the base of the leaf, yep.
Yeah. So cool. Oh man.
Looks just like the ginkgo we know from
ginkgo
today.
biloba. Is there one living species of ginkgo today?
Yeah.
That's not. They used to be so much more speciose.
Yeah.
If you were to take a wild guess, how many species of ginkgo do you think were around at this point in the Cretaceous?
It was already on the decline.
Okay.
But it's tough. But probably I would say between 5 and 10 probably in the Campanian.
Yeah. Shoot. So they're already being. Do you think they're being pushed out by the angiosperms? Are they being outcompeted by flowering plants?
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. Yeah.
And then, yeah, there's Metasequoia.
Oh, on the same slab. That is so
There's
cool.
One there.
Yeah.
So that some people might know the common name. It's dawn redwood.
Yeah, yeah.
It's a deciduous conifer related to the redwoods.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
A deciduous conifer.
Yeah.
That's pretty
Which
cool.
in North America today, that's very uncommon.
Yeah,
But,
yeah. Most of the conifers are evergreen,
Yeah.
like we call them, yeah.
yeah.
But here, let me put a magnifying glass up to this so people can see it a little bit better. But there you see, it just looks like pine needles, like from a modern redwood. That is Metasequoia, a dawn redwood. And then there's that ginkgo there. There you go. Pretty darn cool. That is awesome. Thank you so much for showing us. That is amazing. Really appreciate that.
Just came out.
Yeah. Very, very cool. See? This is why you tune in live, everybody. You see things as they happen. Awesome. And there you go. Yeah, that's exactly what we were talking about with the those bivalves there. Twitchy nose rabbit. Yep. And yeah. Anyway, so cool. Again, this is one of the magical things about doing field work, is you never know what you're going to find or when you're going to find it. And so, like, when we all go back to camp later tonight, we're going to be joining up with other members of our crew who are working at 3 or 4 or 5 other sites, and we will all have stories about the things that we saw and did and discovered today. And it's always a lot of fun. Be like, hey, what did you guys find today? Like, and, how did that, how's the ankylosaur site going? You find any more osteoderms today? What kind of plants did you guys see out there at Turtle Hill? All kinds of stuff. It's one of the joys of fieldwork, Do the grasslands roots reach the network of roots like trees can? Oh, Miss Caprikel, I don't know if they do that, and I think that might, not to be Debbie Downer about this, but I think that whole mycorrhizal root network thing has been a little oversold when it comes to forests. I've spoken with a number of botanists and mycologists too. People who study fungi, and they're like, yeah, that makes a really good story. It might be a really nice airport book or Netflix documentary or something, Netflix special, but there's not a whole lot of evidence that network is quite as extensive or as vital to the survival of those species as it's been sold. But yeah. Heggy for Life says, how about plant species like Asteraceae? Are they seeing those becoming more apparent these days? Yeah, so in the Cretaceous, we're getting the rise of the angiosperms continues unabated. You get the first flowering plants that seem to show up in the fossil record. They seem to evolve about the early Cretaceous, maybe 130 million years ago, something like that. Maybe 120. I'm not super sure on the specifics. Might even be a little hazy. But by 70, 75 million years ago, where we're at right now, they're all over the place. You get dogwoods and laurels and palms and all kinds of plants like that, and they become more and more common in these ecosystems. And they seem to be sort of pushing out some of the ferns, ginkgos, maybe even the conifers, and things like horsetails, which were super common during the Jurassic. Those were some of the dominant plant groups, along with cycads. But by the Cretaceous, we're starting to see the flora become a little bit more modern. We're still not going to have big fruit trees and stuff, not nearly as common as they are today. Grasses haven't even evolved yet at this point in the Cretaceous. At least, maybe there's a few little piddly bunch grasses here and there that we haven't found body fossils of yet, just pollen. But, grasslands won't occur until long after the asteroid hits and wipes out all the dinosaurs except for birds. Yeah, so it's at this point in time when we're digging in the late Cretaceous, things are starting to look a little bit more modern, but they're still strange and alien in very interesting ways, very unfamiliar. And I think that's something that's really interesting about the Mesozoic era, the age of dinosaurs, as you get this interesting mixture of the familiar and the completely weird and novel. It's a really neat mix like that. But yeah. And here, let me put these on for a second and see if I missed any other questions in the chat. Oh, Alan Alice says, what do you think of the de-extinction project? Yeah, so I think that has largely been oversold as well. I don't know. I'm from the Bay Area. I'm from California. There's a lot of like overhyped tech stuff going on there, and like I see that firsthand living in that region. And to me, a lot of the de-extinction stuff seems to have a lot of the same hallmarks. Vaporware, just like, big claims, and then what really comes out of it, I'll put it this way. I am very skeptical that they will ever be able to, like, truly de-extinct a species like that. So that means that we need to be really, really careful about not driving any more species into extinction. And on that same token, I am vehemently against the idea of using the de-extinction notion as a reason to be less than cautious about conservation. In the sense that, like, well, I've already heard a lot of people online say, well, de-extinction is a thing. They brought back direwolves from Game of Thrones, and so that means that we don't, if we drive a species into extinction, whoops, doesn't really matter because we could just bring it back. You cannot think like that, because that is not going to happen. That's not a thing, Already I've heard a lot of people say similar things to that, and I don't know. I just got back from Florida a few days ago, where I was working with leatherback turtles, and that is a remarkable species of animal. Their lineage goes back into the Cretaceous, back to the age of dinosaurs. Leatherback turtles are in serious trouble. Their numbers are declining all over the world. They could very well go extinct in this century if we don't really work to protect them. Stop catching them in fishing nets and drowning them. Stop polluting the oceans with plastic. Stop destroying their nesting beaches and hitting them with boats and all kinds of stuff like that. All the ways that I say we, I mean the Homo sapiens, we as a species we've already caused the decline of, it's probably in the single-digit % population-wise for these animals, so like they're already 95% gone. There's very few of them left. If they do go extinct, we will not be able to bring them back using genetic technology. It's not a thing, Maybe people could come up with some sort of facsimile that looks kind of similar or something, but it's just kind of a genetic amalgam of different turtles. It's not going to be the same, And they won't have the same place in their ecosystem. They won't have the same, like, commensal species. They won't have the same gut flora. There's so many different things that, are just unique to them that you could never reproduce. You could never bring that back if it were to disappear. I hope that makes sense. Yeah. Anywho. But yeah. Ugh. Go away, bugs. Put my hat back on and check out my chat. Let's see. And their geek story, yeah. So reintroduction of species that are endangered but still around is really important. That's often like a vital part of conservation work like this. Yeah, that's very different from like, oh, well, here's a species that's already extinct, and we can create it again in the lab. Like, most of the stuff that they're talking about with like colossal biosciences, it's not really bringing back extinct animals. It's creating essentially like a living replica you're taking an existing species and modifying it so that it looks like a woolly mammoth, or it looks like a dodo bird, or it looks like a thylacine, a Tasmanian tiger, or something like that. And it's not the same. It's really not. Even if that could work, and I think in a lot of ways, there's major hurdles facing a lot of these endeavors. I wish them the best of luck, especially but I kind of wonder whether those efforts would be better placed on helping endangered species thrive than trying to bring back species who are extinct, or bring back some facsimile of an extinct species. I don't know. Anywho, yeah. But yeah, I think I agree with you, Puggo Wuggo. Yeah. I mean, if you can use genetic methods in order to increase the genetic diversity of modern species, if there's only a few individuals left in the world, and you could clone some of them, I don't know. I'm not a geneticist, so I don't know what I'm talking about here. But if you could reduce that genetic bottleneck, give them greater genetic diversity and a better shot at survival, then that's awesome. Rather than let's focus on species that are already extinct. I don't know, you know? And Call Me Ollie says, how hard is it to find bug fossils? It depends. So in a lot of environments, they're super common. I don't know if we have any insect fossils from here. I can ask Fisher. But yeah. Oh, but here, we'll go over there and I'll ask our paleobotanist friends about more indirect insect fossils, because there are a whole, well, I won't spoil it. We'll go over there. But yeah. Can you ask how they think plant life will evolve after fruit trees, etc., says Freelancer. That's a tough one. I don't... it's really difficult to predict something like this, and also it's not a particularly scientific question because you can't test it. If you ask, what do you think will happen in 10 million years from now? I don't know. And even if I get the right answer, we won't know. We won't be around. But we could ask maybe what some of the current trends are. That might be a good way to ask that. And what are some maybe current trends with the climate warming that we've seen recently in the last few decades? Maybe I'll ask that. Yeah. But, yeah. LOL links passenger pigeons. Yeah. Boogie's Bungalow says, what's the smallest fossil you know of being found? I don't know. It'd be some kind of literal microfossil, like a foram or something. There's these critters called foraminifera, which are a well-known kind of microfossil. But they're little protists, so they're single-celled organisms that develop this hard test around them, this hard shell. So picture it kind of like... they've got many different shapes and sizes, morphologies. But picture if you had an amoeba living inside an appropriately sized little nautilus shell or snail shell. That's kind of like a foram. And they're still around today. The ocean and freshwater environments abound with foraminifera. Forams for short. Forams are still everywhere, and they're super important fossils because they evolve so quickly and they have such a short lifespan generally as a species that if you find a particular kind of foram, you know exactly how old those rocks are because we know they're only around for a certain length of time. So if you're out doing field work, you collect some rock samples, bring them back to the lab, find some foram species in it, you're like, oh, well, they have to be exactly this old because that's when these critters were around. So yeah. That's what your chalk is made of. There you go, Gojira, yeah. Yeah, the shells of microscopic oceanic organisms. Forams, diatoms, radiolaria, dinoflagellates. Oh, yeah. Yeah. And diatomaceous earth. Exactly, Twitchy Nose Rabbit, yeah. If Diatom's Attack shows up in the chat, we'll have to talk about diatoms. But let's get a shout out for him. He works with diatoms and shows them to you under the microscope on stream. It's really cool. But diatoms have been instrumental in the production of things like toothpaste and kitty litter and beer. Do we have any fans of toothpaste or kitty litter or beer in the chat? But they act like little microscopic filters because their little tests, their shells are perforated. They've got little holes in them, and so you run stuff through it, and it kind of filters things out. It's really interesting. Yeah. That's funny. Marcy walks the diet tomato. That's a great middle name. Yeah. And thank you, Nina Smash and Puggo Wuggo, for your watch streaks. Good to have you here. Yeah. There you go, L-Wings. Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, let's ask about what fossil plants can teach us about fossil insects, because this is a huge topic. Paleoentomology. I'm going to put somebody on the spot. Who wants to talk about insect damage on leaves? And
do you want to see good leaves?
Yeah, we want to see good leaves. Let's take a look. Yeah, and if we have any with insect damage, that would be awesome. But let's take a look at some particularly pretty leaves right now.
I mean that one's not complete, but it's striking.
Yeah. People in the chat are going to ask, who is this? What kind of...
I don't know.
Like a
don't ask.
morphology number or something, right?
Yeah.
Oh, look at that. Nice.
With this one. And
here, I'll take the magnifying glass out and we'll look at those veins.
This is what Sebastian just pulled up.
Nice, Sebastian. Okay.
So, that goes with that other piece on my
part
leg.
and counterpart?
Yep, exactly.
Yeah, so take a look at those veins. They're very nice. Excellent.
Yeah.
Super cool. So these are angiosperms, right? These are not. Yeah. These are flowering plants.
Yeah, that's what mostly we have.
Nice. So at this point in time, the gymnosperms have kind of taken a back seat to the angiosperms. The flowering plants are starting to take over.
I think it's hard to say exactly what is dominant at any time because a depositional environment is not going to preserve everything equally.
Oh, so you might have had ferns here in this environment and they're just not getting preserved?
Yeah, I mean we know that ferns were an important part of the understory because the other deposits that we have are ashes. So it's preserving everything in place.
Yeah, yeah.
But you're not going to get ferns preserved in the bottom of a pond as easily as leaves falling from trees.
Interesting. Is that because do they just
they kind of just
faster,
shrivel up?
Interesting.
I don't know.
Okay.
I mean, you can find them. They're just it's not, the transport's not the same, you know.
Gotcha. So you need a more robust thing to travel a long distance, like a leaf or maybe, I don't know.
Or I mean, trees drop their leaves, so that's automatically.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. It makes sense.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay. Yeah. And we've got some other questions which I will answer in a minute. But first, I wanted to ask about insect damage. Does anybody raring to talk about that?
Yeah. It's not something I work on specifically, but there are a lot of people in paleobotany who work at this interface between plants and insects. So they're basically the two most diverse groups on the planet.
Right. Yeah.
And so it's not surprising that there's intimate interactions.
Mm-hmm.
And I think one of the cool aspects of this from the paleo realm is insect body fossils are not super common.
Right, this is what I was getting at. Yeah.
I mean, you do find them in amber, but generally they don't preserve well as fossils. Leaves, well, there are
a lot of them. Yeah.
And so the activity of the insects when they're feeding on the leaves, when they're laying their eggs inside the leaves, all of this activity is often preserved on the leaves.
Right.
Including when they preserve and then when we dig them up and look at them. So it's quite common to find fossil leaves with insect damage on them. And based on the morphology of the insect damage, some of your listeners might know about leaf miners or leaf galls or insects that pierce the xylem and just suck on the fluid. All of those types of feedings leave unique morphologies on the leaf surface.
So you can kind of match those up to particular groups of insects and be like, okay, you were here or you were there, that kind of thing. Yeah.
So a fair bit about what we know about insect evolution, and in particular their ecology, is based on the leaves.
That's really cool. Yeah. Neat. So once again, plants proving their importance by not just for, the plants themselves or for climate, but like the evolution of insects.
And I would say it's been really only about 25 years that paleobotanists have been tuned into this.
Really?
So
Wow.
it's a relatively new field, this interface between plants and insects. So we kind of think back prior to the year 2000. I mean, most paleobotanists, the search image was the perfect leaf. And so they were throwing insect damaged leaves down the hillside.
Shoot. Right, yeah. That's so funny.
There's been this revolution in paleobotany when we're out field collecting to, those crappy leaves, if they're crappy in the sense that they're insect damaged, that's actually extra information.
There you go, yeah. That's important data. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Thanks, Dana. Yeah. Yeah, nice. No, really neat to think that, and I've heard, fossil insect people talk about this, where, their entire record for a particular, order or suborder of insects, hundreds of species, the only reason that they know they existed at a particular time in Earth history is because you find damage on leaves from that group of insects. I wish I could give you an example off the top of my head, but I don't work on this kind of thing. But it's kind of nuts that, it's oh yeah, well, we know that this group goes all the way back to the Jurassic because we found leaf damage from that group. Never found the actual insect itself, but they leave such characteristic bite marks on the leaves that that, hey, this particular group was here at this time. That's really interesting stuff. Yeah. But yeah, I'm sorry you weren't doing well, Butterfly World, but I'm glad you're better now. Yeah. Anywho. That'd be cool if they found leaves with dinosaur bite marks. I mean, those are going to be a little bit less precise or easy to recognize. But you do occasionally find plant material inside of dinosaur skeletons. Famously, there were some duckbill, some hadrosaur skeletons from Canada that had conifer material, essentially like pine needles, preserved in the rib cage. And that's been interpreted as it's what this animal ate before it died. Which is cool, because it shows that the animal ate that, but at the same time, that's a little tricky because, the animal ate that right before it died. Does that mean that that's a normal part of its diet? It's hard to say, Oh, yeah. And welcome back, Krager. Yeah, back in the field. Stewie FM, I'm very much not necessarily by choice, I'm a Laurasia kind of guy. I've not done any work in Gondwana yet. For anybody wondering what we're talking about, you've all heard of Pangea, right? When all the continents were stuck together in one massive supercontinent? Well, as it splits apart, one of the major rifts, again, I'm oversimplifying here, but you get a north-south split pretty early on. And so in the north, the northern continents get called Laurasia. That's North America, Europe, and Asia. And then in the south, you have all the other continents, the southern continents. So South America, Africa, Australia, Antarctica. And then also you have Madagascar and India down there too. That's Gondwana. Historically, Gondwana has been very understudied compared to Laurasia. This is kind of a global north versus global south kind of a thing. Yeah. So yeah, as a result, if you're talking about any particular group of organisms, say for instance dinosaurs, we know a lot less about the dinosaurs from down south than we do from North America and Europe and Asia. So yeah. Interesting to think about. I was hoping that we would have Matt Lamanna out in the field with us this summer because he's a big Gondwana guy, but he's not going to be joining us, unfortunately. Yeah, but he's done a lot of work in South America and in Antarctica, too, trying to figure out what's going on down there during the age of dinosaurs. And he's actually working on a few new dinosaurs from those continents, and that's really exciting. I can't tell you details yet because it's not my project to announce, but I assure there will be cool things coming out in the next few years about that. Yeah. I know, Lenina, yeah. I heard last night that Matt's not coming out, but we're going to have a lot of other cool people on stream for sure. And some of them are going to be surprises. But yeah. Anyway, let me get some more water before I forget. But I need to bring Matt on for just like a Zoom interview at some point. I think it'd be a lot of fun when I'm back in the office. And I need to see if we can bring him on for Star Wars Day next year, too. I think that would be fun. He's a big Star Wars fan. And he's got the one of the dinosaurs that showed up in Star Wars, the Dippy specimen of Diplodocus carnegii. That specimen is at his museum. So, yeah, he'll have some cool things to say about that. And welcome, Andromeda Creates. It's good to have you here. Welcome to Paleontologizing. Caught me on my way to get some water. But welcome to western Wyoming. We're digging up, well, lots of different fossil critters here. Fossil leaves, fossil plants up there. Mostly fossil animals over here. We got fishes and amphibians, maybe mammals, a few dinosaur teeth here and there. And some turtle bits. I should actually ask them if we've got any turtle bits to show off. But welcome, everybody. Hope you had a great stream, Andromeda. Good to have you here. Yeah. And Cold Drake says, how many areas are being mined? So we say excavated. Mining sounds very industrial. Sounds like very much a for-profit endeavor. We're doing scientific excavations here on a small scale. But, so we've got these two, I guess, well, this is all the same site, I guess, Turtle Hill. But kind of two different crews working here right now. We've got a crew over at the Ceratopsian site right now, I think. We've got a crew over at the Ankylosaur site. So a horned dinosaur and an armored dinosaur, respectively. And then we've got another crew over at the Duckbill site right now, the Purple Puzzle site. So, yeah. So currently 4 different sites being run at the moment. We will have more as the summer progresses.
We don't have a number yet.
Yeah. And an interesting crimson. Okay, cool. Anyhow, let me go get some water. And again, if anybody's just joining us, welcome to Paleontologizing. My name is Danny Anduza. I'm a dinosaur paleontologist, and I'm here with a crew of paleontologists and students and volunteers out here in Wyoming, conducting scientific fieldwork, collecting specimens for 2 different museums. Fisher, are these going to Pittsburgh or to Cincinnati?
These ones, I believe, go to Cincinnati.
Cincinnati, nice.
Pittsburgh has some of the hadrosaurs.
That makes sense. I think Purple Puzzle is going to Pittsburgh, yeah.
I think more of the later sites going to Pittsburgh, and the others go to Cincinnati.
Nice. Yeah, so hopefully in a few years, hopefully not a few decades, some of these cool fossils are going to be on display there in Cincinnati, Ohio. Yeah, the great forgotten state in the U.S. So many people live in Ohio, and there's so many big cities there that people kind of forget about.
I think it's the state with the most amount of U.S. presidents.
Is it really?
I think so. I could be mistaken.
Current or former? Or
just most amount of presidents have come out of
Ohio. Interesting. Yeah. Huh.
I might be wrong on that.
No, you're probably, well, I don't know. But they've got so many cities that start with the letter C, like big cities. Columbus, Cleveland, Cincinnati, Ohio City, probably. I don't know.
It's in there somewhere.
Yeah. And Fisher's from there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know, it's true.
But yeah. And you're from Ohio as well, Valerian Hunter? Nice. Yeah. We've got a few Ohioans in the chat. Queen Dark Lady? Nice. I bet you we don't have many Wyomingites in the chat. This is the state with the fewest people. Although there's probably a disproportionate number of paleontologists in this state compared to others. At least during the field season. Ugh. Yeah. No, Barham says, why aren't caves or mines a good place to find fossils? They are, actually. Shoot.
Iguanodon mine.
What's that?
The Iguanodon mine.
Yeah, in Bernassar, famously, at this little town in Belgium. They were mining for coal there, and then somebody shouted like, "Oh, I found gold!" Presumably it wasn't in English. They speak, is it Flemish in Belgium? Probably a few languages. Anyway, it wasn't actually gold. It was iron pyrite, and this iron pyrite would form in and around these iguanodon bones. And this is a huge deal at the time because this is kind of people's first introduction to what like a whole dinosaur skeleton looked like. Before that time, they only had bits and pieces. This is back in the 1860s, I think, and 1850s maybe. It's a big deal. That was one of those instances where you don't find dinosaurs on the surface. Somebody just kind of found them accidentally in a mine, deep, deep, deep below the ground. So occasionally that kind of thing happens. The Suncor mine Ankylosaur borealipelta, that came from like a huge open pit mine up in Alberta, Canada. They're really lucky that the heavy equipment operator knew what he was looking at when he saw it. He's like, shoot, this is big and weird, and this is not what we expect to find here. Turned out to be a remarkably well-preserved armored dinosaur skeleton. So you do sometimes find fossils in places like that, but it's never on purpose. It's like people are already digging a big stupid pit in the ground, and then they stumble across a dinosaur or other critter in there. If you want to actually set out to find a dinosaur, you don't dig a giant pit, you go out and you prospect. Caves are also not a great place to find dinosaurs, because caves, generally speaking, are not very old. Caves are kind of a more or less temporary structure on a geological time frame. It's like they don't last super long. But they are really good for finding more recent critters, like lots of Ice Age animals. For instance, cave bears, cave lions, cave hyenas. Why are they called that? Because their remains have been found in caves that are just, less than like 100,000 years old usually. Like those caves are still kind of within their lifespan. They haven't collapsed or been filled in or eroded or anything like that yet. So yeah, caves can be remarkable places to find fossils. And subfossils, too. Subfossils are... It's like when a bone hasn't really been preserved long enough to become a fossil, it's still like mostly the original material. It hasn't really been fossilized yet. It hasn't been permineralized. That's what we call a subfossil. And caves are one of the best places to find subfossils. But it's universally more recent stuff, if that makes sense. Yeah. And what about the Bordeaux, France cave? There you go, Nutsense. Yeah, again, very recent. Yeah. Not a lot of caves last mills. Exactly, Gojira. Yeah. And there you go, Jandra. Yeah, that also probably would have been pretty recently. Unless you're talking about... You're not talking about ashfall fossil beds in Nebraska, are you? Where there's a bunch of fossil rhinos and horses and camels and critters like that there that got caught in this ashfall. A big volcanic eruption. These critters were suffocated by the ash, by those toxic gases, by like particles of glass in the air. And they're just beautifully well preserved. I did a live stream from there back in 2022. Yeah, and that was awesome. Maybe it was 2021. Cozy Kuda says, looks hot out there, stay safe. It's not that hot, honestly. Yeah, it's going to get hotter later in the summer. But I appreciate it, Cozy Kuda. Yeah. And interesting, Jim says both Europelta and Proa skeletons are under coal seams in open coal pit mines in Spain. Interesting. I didn't know that, Jim. Europelta is from a coal mine. Cool. Yeah. Really interesting. Yeah. But yeah, for the most part, especially here in North America, if you're looking for dinosaurs, you go out to an environment like this. This kind of country, where you get lots of exposed rock on the surface, where you can walk around and look for things eroding out. And, yeah, you don't just dig a random pit somewhere and hope for the best. Yeah. And Nell says, are those crickets I can hear? Crickets or somebody similar. Yeah. They really like when it's hot out. So the sun is out and shining and temperature rises and these guys start singing. one over here. I can hear it. We'll get close and it'll stop. Watch. What'd I tell you? Yeah. I'm not an entomologist. I don't know my crickets and allies very well. I don't know what species or group this is, but it probably is some sort of crickety critter, I imagine. Yeah. And thank you, Reganation, for the... oh, holy cow, you gifted a whole year to Jim? Thank you, Reganation. Shoot, I really appreciate that. Holy moly. Jim, that's Utah State paleontologist Jim Kirkland there in the chat. Jim likes to periodically check in on us here. He will not have to see a single ad for the rest of the month, or for the rest of the year. Thank you, Reganation. Holy cow, that's awesome. 12 months. Yeah. I really appreciate that, Reganation. Thank you. Excellent. About the rest of the year, a year. There you go, Murph. Yeah, shoot. 12 months from now. I'll hopefully be out in Wyoming again. This time next year before Jim has to watch another single ad on this channel. Ben Bucky and Tony Skly, how are you doing? Welcome to Paleontologizing. It's really good to have you here. Shoot. Here, let me go back up to the quarry and we'll see what they're working on. But, yeah. My name is Danny Anduza. I'm a dinosaur paleontologist. I'm here on Twitch trying to do some good old-fashioned science outreach. So, we are looking for, finding, and collecting and documenting all kinds of critters from the Cretaceous here, from fossil plants to fossil fishes to fossil turtles. The site is called Turtle Hill. And even the occasional little bit of dinosaur tooth or even some potential mammal teeth. Really exciting. But yeah. So Fisher's sitting where I was earlier today, where I didn't find anything. So
it seems like most of it is concentrated kind of in this
that area
between Martin and I. So we have a thing in the ground here.
Right.
Probably fish.
Oh yeah, what is that?
I love their some other stuff.
Just a nice little keeled bone kind of thing.
Interesting. I don't know what that would be. Yeah, let's look at it under the microscope. Magnifying glass. There we go.
Ontogeny.
Aha. Yeah, what is that, I wonder?
It looks like fish texture to me.
It does, yeah. Interesting.
And also that it's completely unidentifiable.
These ray fin fishes have got so many crazy little bones. Fisher doesn't work on fishes despite the name. I don't either.
Nobody here does.
Nobody works on fishes, so...
Come here is a fish expert.
Have you tried inviting an ichthyologist?
We might. I might try to get Jake out, maybe.
Yeah, you probably love it.
But yeah, anyway, fishes are tricky. And Starmy, yeah, this is one of the sites we dug last year. We keep coming back to Turtle Hill because it's just kicking out so much incredible stuff. And like, out of all of the sites that we have here in this region, Turtle Hill it's got to be the most important just in terms of filling out our faunal list. So trying to figure out what are all the different critters who lived in this environment. We've got more species from here at Turtle Hill than any of the other sites. Probably all the other sites combined, I would imagine.
A huge number of specimens. This year we're already up to 143 different specimen numbers.
Shoot!
And that's not accounting for like duplicates. So I think there's like 13 different Malveus vertebrae, and they're all under like Turtle Hill 26.
Oh man,
13 or something.
Gotcha. Shoot.
And I'm not accounting things in vials either.
Right. Yeah, that's nuts.
And we still have another 4 weeks. So.
Do you remember what our number was for last year?
It was somewhere in the high 200s.
200 specimens?
Yeah, it was like 260, 270, something like that.
But you're already at 100 something so far?
143.
After 2 weeks?
Yep. Probably be at 150 by the end of today.
So you're going to blow last year out of the water.
Probably.
Oh, man.
And we haven't even opened this bench up yet, really.
Right, yeah. So we've got so much material under here.
All this stuff down here is going to be chock full of
Nice.
Insanely well-preserved fish and turtles and crocs. And
do you suspect we'll have to take the back wall back any further, or you think this will occupy you for the rest of the season?
This very well could occupy me for the rest of the season. It really depends on how many people I get here.
Yeah.
If it's 3, then it might go quicker. But if it's just me or just me and another person, then this could easily last the rest of the season.
Right. Awesome. Yeah, so Fisher is in charge of Turtle Hill over here. He's in his element. Yeah, pretty darn cool. And again, for people who are just waltzing in, let me pull up a little visual aid, and I'll show you a rough approximation of what this ancient environment might have looked like. Not all the critters here are going to match up to what we have, but it'll give you some sense. So, the fact that we've got so many ray-finned fishes and cartilaginous fishes, and we've got clams, and we've got lots of critters you would kind of expect to find in a swampy sort of environment back in the Cretaceous. I can say that this environment would have looked a lot like this, say 70, 73, 75 million years ago. So we do have a few bits and pieces of dinosaurs here, mostly teeth. No champsosaurs, so erase this guy and picture a crocodile right here instead. Crocodilomorph, something like Brachychampsa maybe. Got lots of croc pieces from here, including a really nice skull from last year. Tons of turtle pieces. There's a soft-shelled turtle here, a trionychid. So those guys are in abundance at this site. That's why it's called Turtle Hill. And we've got teeth from these cartilaginous fishes, stingray type guys here. And not pictured on here are sturgeon. There's a bunch of sturgeon from this site too, we think. Mostly little spines from them, but interesting stuff. And yeah, got bits of lizards, bits of amphibians, and then lots and lots of bowfin material. This genus here is Cyclurus. Ours is Melvius. It's a lot bigger than this, but it's a pretty good picture of what a bowfin looks like. So overall, this site gives us a really nice kind of snapshot for what this ancient ecosystem was like, the different plants and animals inhabiting it. Yeah, it might not seem like the most charismatic or exciting sort of a site. We don't have like a giant dinosaur here, but for understanding this ancient environment, this is really, really important. So a saltwater or brackish environment, probably more freshwater, but at the time, this is right near the coast. So like, this is probably a freshwater swamp, lake kind of setting. Because this is more or less what North America looked like at this time, except you probably don't have a connection here between Eastern and Western North America. But this is the current day US, or at least there's the lines on the map showing the outlines of these states. Nebraska, South Dakota, North Dakota, Montana, Wyoming, that's where we are right now. We're about here in the western part of the state. So at this time, this seaway that you see here, it would expand and contract over millions of years. At this time, it had expanded, and so we're basically right here on the coastline. You know, about 70, 73 million years ago, give or take. So this would have been beachfront property here out in Wyoming, which is nuts to think about. But the climate was warmer back then. You didn't have a whole lot of ice on our planet. Sea levels were much higher than today. And so you had an ocean in the middle of North America. And so this could be kind of brackish water, or it could be freshwater. I'm guessing it's probably more freshwater.
No marine influence.
No marine influence whatsoever, Fisher is saying. Okay.
A lot of limestone.
That makes sense. Yeah.
All freshwater clams.
Yeah. Cool. So yeah, freshwater. But we do see other environments here, like we'll get oysters just over the hill, and those are from a marine or brackish environment. So we're quite near the coast here, but at the time that the Turtle Hill sediments were laid down, this is all freshwater here. Does that make sense? The ocean would have been a little bit further to the east. Yeah. And Starby says, any update on the giant hadrosaur you found last year? At the Purple Puzzle site? Yeah. So other members of our big crew are working on that as we speak. They were hoping to flip some of those major jackets from last year. And I think they've figured out a way to get them down the hill, hopefully without a helicopter. That's one of the things they'll be figuring out today. I'm excited to hear more about this when I get back to camp. But, yeah, exciting. And I might be visiting there in a couple days. But yeah, horned coral in Missouri and lots of brachiopods. Yeah, very cool, Reaganation. Again, it's an important thing to recognize, is that we live on a dynamic planet where things are constantly changing all the time. And that includes sea levels. So there are various times in Earth history when the middle of North America was covered by a shallow inland sea. Kind of picture like the modern day Mediterranean or like the Caribbean Sea, you know? But just across the American Midwest, Great Plains, underwater. Pretty cool. And I do not have a pet turtle, Twitchy knows. No. But yeah. Nebraska was a seabed? Absolutely, Ice Allen, yeah. There's a lovely book about this that I would recommend called Oceans of Kansas. And it's a very literal title. It's by, was it Mike Everhart, I think? But he talks about all of these ocean fossils from the U.S. state of Kansas. Incredible stuff. Giant mosasaurs. You had, huge ocean-going lizards. Basically like a lizard that wanted to be a whale. Tens of millions of years before whales even evolved. You had these giant lizard whale things. Mosasaurs swimming around. You had long-necked plesiosaurs with their 4 flippers. You had huge tarpon-like fish. You had flightless birds swimming around. Just all kinds of really, really cool stuff. And you find those fossils in Kansas. All over the place. Yeah. And is there an ebook? I don't think there is for Oceans of Kansas, but there is a lovely website that you can link. When I say lovely, I mean very old and very charming looking. It's very like turn of the 20th century kind of aesthetic Oceans of Kansas website. But it's chock full of information. It's really good. Yeah. And Geeks Tour, is the Grand Canyon in the area of that inland sea by chance? So, Grand Canyon is in Arizona. So I'll show you. Here's that map. Here is the U.S. state of Arizona. So, I don't know if Arizona was ever underwater under the Western Interior Seaway. Arizona's further west. It probably was at some point, actually, come to think of it. But parts of Utah were also underwater, like the Mancos Shale, which we'll be talking about later in the summer. That's in this region. So yeah, this seaway expanded and contracted so many times during the Cretaceous. And then, yeah, part of this was that sea levels were higher at the time, like there was just more water. There's less water locked up in ice. But part of this also was just that North America wasn't as tall, so to speak. You had this big, like, uprise event. So the land rose during the Cenozoic era, during the era that we're in now, the Age of Mammals. And so that's one of the reasons why we here in Wyoming are now about 6,000 feet above sea level. So, what, like 1,700 meters above sea level, something like that? As opposed to, when this was at sea level 70 million years ago. At the time these rocks were laid down, this was sea level. Not anymore. Again, Earth is a very dynamic planet. Things are constantly changing. Kenneth says, earthquakes? Earthquakes don't have as much to do with it. It's more just like uplift, I guess. So, part of that is the Great Laramide Orogeny. So, when the Rocky Mountains were being pushed up, that helped raise up this part of the Rocky Mountain West. But then also you get the Great Plains states that rose up too, and I'm not super familiar with how that happened. I'm not really the right guy to ask about that. But I'm sure it is pretty well studied. I'm just not clued into that. Yeah. And where are you on that map? I'll show you, Luke Rubens Gaming. So, here we go. Just to get your bearings. Florida is over here off the map. Here is California. Oh, California right here. Almost entirely underwater. Here's Wyoming. So, it is a rectangle right here. We're about there in western Wyoming. So at the time, this map is not quite exactly right. This is a little bit after our time here. So this is for 70 million years ago. We're digging in rocks that we think are about 73 million years old. The seaway was wider, so we were right there on the coast right here. So just move the coastline this way. That's where we're at. Does that make sense? Yeah. Anywho, yeah. And is Volcano Doc in the chat? Or are we just shouting her out because we're talking about geology? Yeah. But yeah. Yeah. So the mountains formed in the west? Yeah, so that's something that's happening at this time. I'm not totally clear on the specifics, but I think basically as the Pacific plate is being pushed under the North American plate, like all of that rock has to go down into the mantle and it melts, and then it creates a tremendous amount of heat under the crust, and that ends up pushing up the Rocky Mountains and the Laramide orogeny. Somebody can find a Wikipedia article about that. Laramide orogeny. Laramide. Laramide orogeny. Orogeny. And you can read more about that there. More than I know about this. Thank you, Claire. Yeah. But yeah. And the planet is astonishing. Absolutely, Geek Story, yeah. Yeah. And there you go, Charlie's Dragon. Yeah, excellent. Yeah. So yeah. Yeah. Here, we'll go check in on our paleobotany friends again. See what they're wrapping up. Ooh, there we go. Doing some wrapping over here. Nice. Look at all these specimens. Holy cow. Sorry to interrupt. Yeah.
This is about an hour and a half
of wrapping here. It's pretty good.
Well, digging and wrapping.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice. Little fossil plant mummies.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah. Very cool. Yeah. So you guys are here until Friday?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Nice. I hope you continue to find awesome specimens. This is cool. That ginkgo was amazing. Like I was, it's like we were asking for that, and then there it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sometimes that happens.
Uh huh.
Are we 26?
You are.
26.26.
Super cool. Anyway, I'll let you get back to it. Sorry to distract. But yeah, neat stuff. And 5 p.m. I should think about wrapping up pretty soon here. And when I think Jim was saying in the chat, the Laramide orogeny is more complex, and that would make a lot of sense. That's why I want people to read that article if they want to know about the birth of the Rocky Mountains. I don't know enough about this to be able to tell you in a few sentences what's going on there. In fact, as I understand it, this is one of the major areas of study here in this part of the world if we're talking about geology. The birth of the Rocky Mountains, that whole story, there's so much there, you know? And I don't want to breeze past that. Don't want to give you any impression that it's super simple. It's not. There's a lot of beautiful complexity, fascinating stuff in there. Yeah. Yeah, Geeks Tour, back out of conversations. I don't know what you mean, Geeks Tour. Yeah, I'm not sure I know what you mean. Our planet is super messy, but that's what makes it fun. Exactly, Copernicus cat. Yeah, absolutely. No, it's cool stuff, you know? And it's funny that there's, I don't know, not to throw shade at any of the other branches of the sciences, but if you're somebody you're uncomfortable with ambiguity or complexity, maybe stick to a simple science like physics or something, you know? Something that's very by the numbers, something very quantifiable. You know, if you like things messy and complicated and sometimes a little subjective, geology might be a good fit for you, or paleontology. But yeah, but there you go, Starmy. Yeah. Queen Dark Lady says physics as a simple science, and I don't necessarily mean that too much as a pejorative or anything, but it's like you're just dealing with fewer variables in physics, you know? Like fields like chemistry are built upon physics with added levels of complexity. And then geology, in many ways, is applied chemistry. It's chemistry with lots of added layers of complexity on top of it. And then you get paleontology, which is basically a mixture of geology and biology. And biology can be an incredibly messy, complex science. So yeah.
Ontogeny.
Since in some small way trying to push back against this concept of like, oh, well, you know, science is just physics, and that's all there is, and everything else is stamp collecting. No, it's not, you know? I think physics has benefited from a tremendous amount of attention and, like, military-industrial complex funding, stuff like that. It's seen as very prestigious in a lot of ways, and I kind of laugh at that a little bit, if you can't tell. But yeah. But yeah, anyhow. Yeah. Let me know if you've got any other questions. We'll think about wrapping up relatively soon here, because it's after 5. And I want to actually get some digging done this evening before we leave. But, yeah. Anyhow. And Queen Dark Lady says there's so many variables to actually consider in physics. Absolutely, yeah. But, like, I think just inherently, physics is going to be more simple than other sciences where you have more variables, where you have added degrees of complexity, where you can't just express everything as a mathematical equation. And again, I'm oversimplifying here when it comes to physics, and I understand that. I myself am not a physicist. But I want to get this impression across that, you know, there's so many different sciences. And I think sometimes people take the simplicity of physics and they say that it makes a better science. And I'm trying to push back against that idea, if that makes sense. Yeah. Oh, and thank you, Mothproof KT. Yeah. Well, I'll be streaming again tomorrow, doing some more paleontologizing, if weather permits. But, yeah. Yeah. And thank you, Baron of Bile. Hey, I really appreciate that. Yeah. Starmy says, any updates from the other sites we saw last year? Yeah, so again, I just got here last night, so I'm still kind of catching up on all of the field site gossip. But the Ankylosaur site, the armored dinosaur site that I showed you last year briefly, continuing to kick out bones left and right. Not just armored dinosaur bones, but fossil fishes and some theropod material. We have what might be maybe an articulated theropod skeleton, maybe missing the skull, like a skeleton of a meat-eating dinosaur, a little one that was collected last year. They were prepping that out of the lab, and holy cow, it's a little meat-eating dinosaur. So that's really exciting. At the Hadrosaur site, they dug back into the hill over the past 2 weeks before I got here, and they found more bones. So our duck-billed dinosaur continues going into the hill, which is exciting, but it's going to be a lot of work to get it out. Yeah, and then we've got all this stuff going on here at Turtle Hill, so there's a lot going on, you know? Exciting stuff. Yeah. And hang on, is the... getting a weird signal thing? Yeah. And how is camp looking this year? Great food coming in, good setup. Yeah, good setup this year. One of our major innovations this year is our big plastic totes that we keep all the food and everything in. We got clear ones for this year, so we can just look and see what's inside them without having to open up every single one to hunt for any particular food item. That's really nice. Yeah, I've got my same tent as last year. Camp seems a little bit more crowded. I showed up late this year because I was in Florida last week working with leatherback turtles. But so like my regular tent spot, people put their tents real close to it. But I could still put mine there, so I'm not complaining too much. I'm not complaining at all. Grateful. But yeah, things are a bit more tightly spaced than they were last year. And there's porta potties. Or at least I think we might be getting some. There's talk of well, I'm not even sure about that actually. Anyway. But yeah, it continues to grow. We've probably got 20 people in camp right now, something like that. And this isn't even the high point. We will get more volunteers and paleontologists and students showing up. So, yeah. This whole project, the Central Laramidio Project, as we've called it, continues to grow and thrive. And that's in part thanks to you and your generosity, chat. Really appreciate all the support. Holy cow. Yeah. Anywho, yeah. Anyway. Geeks Tour says you're all mostly chatting about the day's work at night? Or did the guitars come out? Nobody's got a guitar, and I didn't even bring my uke this year. Didn't really have room for it. But yeah, I don't know. We chat about what happened during the day. We chat about science. There's a lot of inside jokes. We'll play music on Bluetooth speakers and stuff like that. We have a campfire. And we'll probably be doing karaoke again this year because I brought my karaoke gear. The karaoke machine and microphones, and I've got satellite internet and a laptop. We'll turn a folding table, big plastic folding table on its side. We'll use that as a projector screen. It's going to be fun. So we'll do that one of these nights. I did that for the first time last year, and it was a huge hit. People love fieldwork karaoke. So that's going to be a lot of fun. Yeah. We got to make sure we do it on a night when there's no rain expected. Because I don't want my streaming laptop to get soaked by a rainstorm. Yeah. And Starmy, yeah, so, shoot, who was it last year who was, you're like, holy cow, this guy's an incredible singer. Fisher, who was that last year who was, an incredible singer at karaoke? Jackson, that's right, yeah. I think you guys got to meet Jackson. I think we even talked about that on stream. But, holy moly, he just blew us all away. We had no idea. So that was really fun. And I don't think we can stream the karaoke or do it because I would get copyright struck for that. And also, people don't want to be on camera doing that, so I'm not going to do that to the crew. But I can tell you stories at least afterward. Yeah. Big luxurious tent that people are making fun of. That's my tent. I always have my airspace. What do you mean? Yeah. Anywho. With that, it's after 5. I should get back to work. Instead of just yammering into the camera, we'll wrap things up. Let me walk up the hill just a little bit. But I'll be streaming again tomorrow. And don't go away just yet. We're going to see if we can raid into somebody else doing some science on Twitch right now. But, yeah. If weather and other conditions permit, I'll be streaming again same time tomorrow. Maybe from this site, maybe from a different one. We'll see where I am most needed. But yeah, for right now, let's go ahead and see who else is live on Twitch. Sell a big tent and downgrade to something. No, I meant upgrade Mayor of Space. That was the thing, is I had a little tiny tent. It wasn't working out. And I was going to get a big spring bar tent like other people on the crew use, and that's exactly what I did. Never looked back. Yeah. Let's see who else is on Twitch right now. Open up the app. Watch, following. Let's see. Alveus Sanctuary. Listen Denial. GeoGym. Let's go right into GeoGym. That'll be nice. Summer geologizing. That'll be cool. I think we'll continue with the earth science theme. Excellent. Yeah. Thank you everybody for being here today. Thank you for your enthusiasm, your questions, your attention. I know the internet is a very big place, and you could be just about anywhere right now, but you've been here spending time with me and the crew, digging up fossils, talking about the history of life on Earth out here in Wyoming, and I thank you for being here with us. And thank you for the financial support, everybody who contributed to making this field season possible and making it possible for me to be out here. Thank you for supporting the channel. Without further ado, we're going to go right into Geo Jim, who is a geology teacher, and we'll go see what he's up to. All right. With that said, I hope to see you all tomorrow, chat. Tune in for some more paleontologizing. Same time, same place. We'll see what we're up to. All right. Right now, Geo Jim. I'll see you there, everybody. Take care. Bye-bye. Raid has been canceled. What happened? Nope, raiding. Okay, that's working. Cool. There we go.